Hello, everybody, and for the final time in Season 7 of the VML, happy Friday. We are here with the grand finale of the season. My name's Haiyue. I'm here with Nicole, Callahan, and Beky Bell, bringing you coverage of this fine event. We are, of course, sponsored by Wizards of the Coast and Good Luck High Five. Nicole, you looking forward to it? We're here. It's the end of the season.
I cannot wait. I was lucky enough to be able to cast the top 16 last week with Zabricus, and you could just feel the tension as, like, you know, the next person made it to top 8, next person made it to top 8. I'm like, oh, we're getting there. And now we're here.
We are here. Beky, what are you expecting to see tonight?
Ooh, I'm expecting to see a lot of Orzhov decks. So I'm expecting to see a lot of mono white, but you know, I think that's how it should be. I think Goldspan Dragon has had their little time in the sun, and I think that they can go flutter away now. That's how I feel about Goldspan Dragon, and we're gonna leave it at that.
See, Becky's not let go of this grudge against Goldspan Dragon that's plagued her for multiple seasons.
Still, it has.
All right, well, Nicole, we have a jam-packed schedule for all of you this evening. We will just explain very quickly what is going to happen. So, the players spent 7 weeks in Season 7 of the VML playing in their divisions, round robin against each other player in their division. After that, we took the top 2 finishers from each division, plus the top 8 wild cards, which is people who weren't in the top 2 but did get the top 8 in standings from everybody else. And they played an elimination bracket in the playoffs. We've already had 2 weeks of playoffs. We had the top 24, followed by the top 16 last week. And this week, we are at the top 8. And the way that this week works, here we are. Here are our beautiful top haters. We have Ruuchu, their seed number 1 here at the top of the bracket, up against Samantha Murphy in their quarterfinal. Wyatt against Mythic Mikaela, longtime VML mainstay Mythic Mikaela, the MightyLinguine herself, co-chair of the VML, and of course, multiple-time VML winner, up against very well-known Canadian GP and PT grinder Sarah England there in the 6th slot. And then rounding out this top 8, Kansaki against Arya. Multiple 3-time VML winner Arya Karamchandani. Beky, what are your thoughts looking at this bracket?
It's stacked. I mean, there's some new and old names, but even the new names are ones that you've come to fear from watching week after week, and it's really well set up. Will it be a newcomer to take it down, or will it be the MightyLinguine or Arya to take one more down once again?
So what we're actually going to do this evening is we're going to show you one of the top 8 matches, the quarterfinal matches. Those were actually played earlier in the week, so all of those were resolved by Wednesday. We're going to be showing you Arya against Kansaki right from the bottom of the bracket. And then after that, we actually have all 4 of the semifinals lined up. We will be showing you both semifinals and the grand finals live on stream right here on twitch.tv. Nicole, you know, we've done this a couple of times now. The live show at the end of the season, always the most exciting time. What can the viewers expect?
Well, because it's all there. It's all out there. You're getting, like, the raw emotion of just not only taking down this tournament, which spans 10 weeks. It's a long time.
It's a long time.
And you put your thought. I don't know about you all, but you know that Sunday night, 11 p.m. grind of, like, you're just absolutely agonizing
what deck
that last
play?
sideboard slot or what deck you're going to play in general. And then it's just so much. These players have put so much into this season, and you can just feel the culmination of it when we get to interview that winner and say, hey, you're going to the set championship. Hey, you just want a really nice chunk of cash. Hey, you're going to get a cool custom token for Micklin Customs.
Ooh.
Really
we don't talk about the token enough, to be honest. Every week I feel like we're here on the stream being like, yeah, we're gonna make someone's dream come true. They're gonna get to go to the PT, etc., etc. And then we never really talk about the best prize, which is that custom Inkling token for the winner, which we do every season. And looking forward as well towards the next season of competitive play, getting onto the set championship this this season is super important because of the way that, you know, the wins and points accumulate for the new Pro Tour season as well. All right, so I think we are just about ready to have a look at our quarterfinal match that we are going to be showing you. So let's have a look at what's going on here. We have Kansaki from Division 3 who made it, you know, it was a fighter all through the division play. I think we had Kansaki on the stream quite a few times with various different decks. Chose Bant Aggro for the top 8. Says that it's not the best deck, but it's the deck they chose to play because this brew brings them the most pleasure without regrets. Beky, is that the attitude that you're looking for?
That is, and I mean, I wish that I would have stuck with that attitude through my play here. I, like, at the last second, ended up changing to mono white previously, and I lost because I felt like I was just playing a deck that I wasn't as comfortable with, and it didn't make me as happy. I would have been happy continuing to play Orzhov and just play the deck that I knew, that I loved. And so big respect to anybody who says, I know this isn't like a super high meta pick, or even if it is, like, it is the deck that I want to play and that makes me happy. So that's why I'm going to go ahead and submit it. And usually you play better with a deck that like makes you happy to play. Your mental throughout the whole thing is a lot better. You happily kind of like grind through the ladder playing the deck over and over again. And it just equates to better play all across the board, which I mean, shows up a ton in formats like Modern, where you see people who are like, oh, I've just played this deck for so long that I just understand like what my game plan is and what the game plan against a bunch of other decks is because I've played this deck for 10 years. And the same can be said for a lot of standard decks in a lot of other situations as well.
Yeah, and you know, Kansaki says it's not the best deck, but if you look at the actual cards that are in this deck, Nicole, there's some heavy hitters here. We have Luminog Aspirants, we have Essica's Chariots, we have Wandering Emperors. These are not kind of janky, slouchy cards.
Right, just because you don't see them in this shell often, like normally, you know, you see Wandering Emperor, you're looking at, you know, mono white or Wedding Announcement, really powerful card. Playing 4 of that card. You know, it's a card you normally see in Orzhov Midrange, which is by far the most popular deck in our metagame this week. But their individual power can't be understated. Like Ren in 7, a card that was here when it first got printed and then kind of lost favor, but it's still a very, very powerful card. Hard to remove once it gets onto the battlefield, protects itself well. There's a lot of big boom booms in this list, and you can't sleep on this Bant Aggro list. I can't.
So talking of big boom booms though, let's have a look at the other side of the battlefield. It is multiple time VML champion Arya, and Arya is of course already qualified for Streets of New Capenna. So, but don't worry everybody, if Arya wins this evening, the invite will pass down to the second place competitor. We are of course going to be sending somebody new to the set championship this season, and Arya has kind of done the Arya thing and brought a Goldspan Dragon based combo deck. So Beky, are you quaking your boots?
I mean, if there was anyone who I would tell to bring a Goldspan Dragon to an event like this, it would be Arya. Because I think that Arya is also one of the people who, again, has played this deck and this style of deck so much over the past, what month are we in? We're almost in May, the last 5 months, that it's the best situation I can possibly think of for Arya. She's very comfortable with this style of deck. She knows it inside and out. She's made iterations on it that are all her own. So she is somebody who is extremely strong with this strategy and somebody that I'm always excited to see pilot this deck despite it having a Goldspan Dragon.
Just couldn't resist. Just couldn't resist.
I gotta get the rubbins against
Goldspan Dragon wherever I can.
Yeah, I mean, Arya, you know, loves Goldspan Dragon, has been playing these decks since the beginning, played Jeskai Mutate a while ago to some success, played a lot of Aaron's Epiphany in the format, knows her way around the iterations, knows her way around Leah, Disciple of the Drowned. And this deck kind of is a little bit of a play on those control decks that we've seen, but with this dragon combo kind of in it. And Nicole, you know, if you're facing up against this kind of deck where sometimes they can just kill you out of nowhere, like, are you like, I would be scared. I would be intimidated.
Oh, any time past like turn 4 when they can cast the unexpected windfall, you know, make the treasure, and a Goldspan Dragon can come down, I'm shaking my boots. I'm just like, am I dead? Am I dead? Am I dead? You know, like,
Yeah,
like every time it's like your turn, and you're like, can they kill me on my turn? Like, is it okay? Am I good to go? You know, I will say one of the things is playing against a Bant aggro deck. I'm sure Kansaki's more hoping to see that aggro part of the Bant. So we will see how this pans out.
All right, well, it sounds like we are ready to watch some Magic the Gathering. So let's go down to our quarterfinal feature match from VML Season 7. It's Arya on Jeskai. Dragon combo up against Kansaki on Bant aggro, and two Wandering Empress, Prosperous Innkeeper, Essica's Chariot. What do you think of this hand for Kansaki, Beky?
It's really close, actually. I think I would keep it, but it's really hard because we're just saying that you need the aggro part of this deck to show up. But this is such a serviceable hand. Like, you're never really going to cast the Amaria's Call, so it being your third land is completely fine. Prosperous Innkeeper is like a 2-drop, which is something that you're looking to see, but it's probably not the 2-drop that you're looking to see when you're trying to aggro your opponent out. But at least having something on the board to start kind of get the ball rolling and hopefully be able to curve into this Essica's Chariot on the next turn is certainly a good start for Kansaki.
Definitely a good start indeed. We are going to see a 4-drop here on turn number 3, and this is what the deck is designed to do: ramp out one of these powerful spells like this Essica's Chariot or one of these Wandering Emperors. And having a look over at Arya's hand, it's looking pretty clunky, Nicole. I see some iterations. I see 2 Galvanic and maybe 1 Expressive there hiding out, but no third land just yet.
Yeah, it looks like Arya's putting a lot of stock into this expressive iteration hitting next turn, only making the first 2 land drops with no third land in sight right now.
That is a third land, so that is a good find for Arya. It's going to fire off this expressive iteration, though. Let's see what she can find. The rest of the hand looking, you know, it's kind of full of these big spells, right? 2 copies of the Goldspan Dragon, that's a key one. Unexpected Windfall, of course. You need that one. And it looks like Arya has actually found 2 more lands off the iteration.
I mean, if iteration is good at doing one thing, it's finding you mana to keep just pumping everything out. And those double galvanic iterations are going to be hopefully nice once we're able to potentially use it with this unexpected windfall. I like the decision being kind of maxed out on cards in hand, going to clean up and just getting rid of one of those Leers. It's not going to be one of the stronger cards in this matchup in particular, certainly not with the things that are currently in hand for Arya. So I respect that decision. And this wedding announcement, kind of a big draw, but it's still in an interesting place because you're trying to decide, do you go ahead and play the Tangled Florahedron? Do we try to like play this Amaria's Call, pay 3, which definitely doesn't seem suspicious at all. It looks like that is going to be the call. And, I mean, if you're trying to bluff something, a strong way to do it, I suppose.
Yeah, and it looks like Kansaki's going to say, you know, I'm not going to just bolt myself and pass the turn. Here it is. It's the Wandering Emperor. There's no 1 mana counterspell for this, you know, out of your deck. So Wandering Emperor is going to resolve, and not just Wandering Emperor, but the beautiful alt art Wandering Emperor. So massive props for that. And here we go. It's going to be a big attack in with Essica's Chariot plus the 2 smaller creatures, the 1/1 and that 2/2 cat token.
That's a big attack. I mean, I love that Kansaki has just said, like, all right, the way that I win this game is by being aggressive. What is the most aggro I can eke out on every single one of these turns? And like, sometimes that means like Wandering Emperor has flash, but don't need it. Gonna go ahead, make that 2/2 to be able to attack for that extra 2 damage instead with playing that Wandering Emperor main phase last turn.
I mean, this is pretty close to lethal, right, Nicole?
It is. It's getting there. It's certainly threatening lethal next turn, especially with a second Wandering Emperor. So even if Arya is able to find the 1 of Burn Down the House in her deck next turn, which is the only sweeper that she has in the main, the second Wandering Emperor could come down, make a Samurai, and just about finish things off.
So but the question here is, so there's unexpected windfall in hand for Arya. There's the Goldspan Dragon to double the mana from those treasures. This is the scary thing that we were kind of talking about with this deck, which is even though Kansaki can get Arya down to, you know, a very low life total here, it's possible that she could just untap and just combo up.
It's possible, but I mean, at this point in time, it seems also kind of unlikely with what we're able to see in Arya's hand. I think we would need to see like this unexpected windfall be extremely lucky, which wouldn't be the first time that we've seen anyone playing a deck like this get lucky. But we're also seeing Kansaki draw a lot of the right things at this exact same time and be able to like curve out in this exact same way off of those land draws. So taking a look at what was drawn here, it's a land and an expressive iteration, which I'm sure is not exactly what Arya was hoping to see.
I think it's gonna be very
Kansaki, do you just, sorry, Nicole, to cut you off there, but do we just go for lethal here? It's the +1, right?
I would, especially now that unexpected windfall's been fired off.
I think it's got to be so tempting if you're Kansaki. If I'm sitting in that seat, I'm thinking my opponent has 7 cards in hand. You know, she's just windfalled. I do not want to let her untap.
This is the part of the game where you're looking up your opponent's deck list and you're like, okay, how many copies of Jawari Disruption are we playing? And normally we're used to seeing the full 4. Arya's list actually only has 2.
Oh, only 2. Okay, so that is definitely a consideration here. And there she is, the second copy of the Wandering Emperor. That resolves. That is going to put a +1/+1 counter on one of these attacking creatures. It was 11 power coming across. It's now going to be 12, and that is going to be, you know, a very lightning fast game 1 going to Bant Aggro in the hands of Kansaki. Wow.
Whew. I mean, the Exactsies, very nicely done from Kansaki.
Yes, that was a very well played game. I like the math, I like the Exactsies, and we definitely saw the aggro side of this aggro deck. Turn 3, Estika's Chariot is exactly where this deck wants to be.
So we definitely see, you know, these cards that were designated for this matchup come in. We see Disdainful Strokes, Archons of Emeria. And then Kansaki is choosing to get rid of some of the clunkier things like the Ren and 7. Are you surprised to see that go, Beky?
No, I think that Ren and 7 in this matchup is just going to be way too difficult to make impact with, and you're trying to see a lot of those kind of cheaper cards anyway, both to be able to aggro your opponent out, and also like Archon of Emeria is just such a like must answer for this, for any of the like blue-red or Jeskai combo decks. So I like just going ahead and saying, we have a specific game plan. Let's not worry about some of these other fringe game plans like Ren and 7.
Just really thinking about the last cut here. Nicole, what would you be thinking of trimming?
Oh, this is tough. I kind of like cutting the Emeria's Call. You cut a lot of your bigger drops, like you said, the Ren and 7 and things like that. So cutting a land, it's sort of half a land, a quarter of a land, however you want to count it. But I think cutting an Emeria's Call here is definitely a fair call.
I see what you did there.
Yeah.
Very nice. Very nice. And just taking a last look back at everything, those Legion Angel came out as well, trimmed on a wedding announcement, trimmed on a prosperous innkeeper. Of course, these players have prepared very well for these matchups, given that they had not as long as they usually would do in the VML season. For the top 8, you just get 3 days to play your match instead of the full week. But like, given the importance of what's on the line of these players going to be know each other's decks incredibly well by the point that they play, and we are going to go and look at what Arya is doing. Smoldering Egg coming in. I'd love to see it, Beky.
Oh, I mean, I'm not a very big fan of Goldspan Dragon, as we've very quickly established, but I am a big fan of Smoldering Egg. I do love me a Smoldering Egg. I do like me some blue-red spells lists. So, like, aside from the unfair aspect of Goldspan Dragon that I think is just so overtuned, the rest of these things that this deck is trying to accomplish, I really like, and I think that this is a, like, pretty good hand that we're seeing Arya just go ahead and snap keep here.
That was such a snap keep. Could barely even get a word in before she hit that orange button. Kansaki need a little bit longer about this. Luminarch Aspen wedding announcement, disdainful stroke, fateful absence, though. That is not a shabby hand.
Ooh, and it just got even less shabby.
Yeah, Welcoming Vampire is super sweet. One of my favorite cards from the Innistrad sets. But there it is, the small egg coming down on turn number 2. And that is going to stand in the way for a little while, unless Kansaki decides to use this fateful absence now.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a very interesting decision. Whether Kansaki is going to hold that fateful absence for a more formidable threat, either the Ashmouth dragon down the road or a Goldspan dragon, or if Arya kept in her leers at this point, like Kansaki took out Skyclave apparitions and a lot of answers. So brought in cards like Fateful Absence and Valorous Stance, but only has a couple of answers for the threats that Arya could present here. So that definitely is going to carry some value.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. Beky, what do you think about this threat evaluation kind of decision that Kansaki has to make on this Smoldering Egg?
I mean, it's one of those things where you're just trying to evaluate, like, what is the most likely play for my opponent on the next turn? And is it likely going to be, can I get out of hand before the Smoldering Egg gets out of hand? And you're just trying to make that decision right here and right now. Are you the one who's trying to run away with the game? And based on using this Welcoming Vampire, it looks like Kansaki is trying to be the one to run away with this game. But it is kind of like a very difficult back and forth where you're trying to decide exactly what you're trying to do. And we do see that just trying to commit as much power and toughness to the board as possible by continuing to not utilize trying to go for that +1/+1 counter to keep something safe from a Dragon's Fire. And there, before that Luminarch Aspirant gets out of hand, I like Arya deciding to just go ahead and make sure that that is in the graveyard.
Yeah, you do not want that to get the 4th counter on it. It gets a lot more tricky to deal with once you get to that point. Here is Unexpected Windfall, and now Smoldering Egg has 4 more counters on it. That is ready to flip. And now this problem of whether to use Fateful Absence is kind of back on the table for Kansaki.
Yeah, this Smoldering Egg is very close to flipping and becoming much more threatening. Before, when it was just kind of clogging up the battlefield, like it prevented probably about 3 damage to Arya, who's still, both players still at 20. But now it's going to turn into, it's going to clog up the battlefield and become a real threat. So
yeah, I like this kind of more cautious line here from Kansaki, playing out the Prosperous Innkeeper, leaving up the mana for both the Fateful Absence and Disdainful Stroke. And there is the second Dragon's Fire. That's going to take care of Welcoming Vampire, threaten to flip the egg. Is it time?
You just gotta do it. You're like not in a position where you're gonna be able to handle that Ashmouth dragon, despite what we know being in Arya's hand. I just like getting and making sure that that is not going to be something pestering the board right now. But this is an interesting draw.
March of Swirling Mist. Usually I think this deck is using that as kind of one of the combo pieces with the Goldspan Dragon to try and, generate that extra mana by targeting it with, like, you go up 1 mana, right, when you target it with a 1 mana spell. But March is kind of a weird spot against these aggro decks, can also have some other functions as well. Kansaki's going to untap, though, with Wedding Announcement and Disdainful Stroke both available. Nicole, if you're in Kansaki's seat, like, are you just trying to like aggro out as much as you can, or now that you've kind of got to this mid game and you haven't put that much pressure on, what's the game plan?
Yeah, I mean, at this point, Kansaki also does have a Lair of the Hydra in play, which may come into play a little bit later. But as long as Kansaki has something like Wedding Announcement to put down out onto the battlefield, and kind of just being like, Arya has to answer this, Arya has to answer this, just continuously make Arya need to have answers. I think that's what Kansaki is looking to do: pressure the cards in Arya's hand, make sure Arya can't get to that mass where she could just go off and kill Kansaki in a turn. So being able to consistently pressure is exactly what Kansaki is looking to do here. And being able to pressure Wandering
Ooh.
Emperor is a great way to do it, especially with a Disdainful Stroke backup to kind of like protect any answers Arya could possibly have to follow up.
Yeah, this quarterfinal match looking very nice for Kansaki right now in this spot. 6 mana available, Beky. Could we be seeing a 2-0 sweep here?
I mean, we still have a lot of life on Arya, and I don't think that you should ever count a deck like this blue-red kind of spells deck out until Arya's at like 0 HP. Like, the game is not over. The amount of times that I've seen this deck win at 1, it a lot more than I would like to mention. So I like, though it seems like Kansaki's in a good place, like I think the actual best card on the battlefield for Kansaki right now is this Lair of the Hydra. But I think if there ever is drawn like a Field of Ruin, if that is an Arya's deck, that could certainly be something that will throw like a big wrench in the game plan here. And I think that the tides could really start to turn if something like that were to occur.
So we're going to see this end step Wandering Emperor Arya just passing the turn back, holding up that unexpected windfall. Oh, here is an upkeep unexpected windfall. So a nice bit of timing here from Arya, kind of forcing the issue on this Disdainful Stroke. Do you think you're countering this, Beky?
No, absolutely not. I mean, on the off chance that like you draw something better, that's also like, it's always weird. At this point, Arya has so much mana, so it just doesn't make a lot of sense to go ahead and counter something like that unexpected windfall. And like, while it is certainly a hit, you're definitely hoping to hit something like that Goldspan Dragon or the Leer, but it is going to have to be the Leer first, because once that Leer is on the battlefield, the Disdainful Stroke is going to start to look a whole lot worse.
Yeah, among the many other things that Lear does, it does have that line of text saying spells cannot be countered, and that applies to both players. So your counter spells don't work and your opponent's counter spells don't work either. Here is Welcoming Vampire that Kansaki found off that wedding announcement at the end of the previous turn. And Prosperous Innkeeper going to come down, draw a card. I love Welcoming Vampire. Literally cannot get enough of this. Somebody stop me or I will keep talking about how much I love Welcoming Vampire forever.
I will let you continue to keep talking about it because I also love Welcoming Vampire.
It's just so sweet. It's just like the perfect power level, like not too busted, you know, great body, great stats. And of course, the best 3 words in Magic on that card as well. So, Kansaki with Disdainful Stroke, but everything else on the battlefield. Kind of building up this force, you know, a little bit slower than the previous game, but kind of slowly getting there, especially with this wedding announcement flipping.
Yeah, seeing that wedding announcement flip with not an empty board is pretty sweet for Kansaki. Kansaki did very much commit to this board, though, with the double innkeepers. Ooh, and we will see Lear drawing out this Disdainful Stroke here, too, to kind of, hopefully for Kansaki, keep things going the way that he wants them to go, and Goldspan Dragon to follow up.
Yeah, so Arya, you know, recognizing that, of course, if something were to be countered, that it has to be the Lear. Here's Goldspan Dragon, comes down, takes a big chunk out of Wandering Emperor's life total, but just has to pass the turn back. And this is a lot of power and toughness on the battlefield. Is Amiri's Call on? It is, right?
I think if you play one as a land, it is on.
There's also a Gandra Siege of the Empire that could be played as a land as well as that treasure. So this could be it. If Kansaki just puts this Amiri's Call on the stack, obviously we know there's nothing in hand that would necessarily stop that as much of the Swirling Mist that can maybe phase out one of these attackers. But Kansaki still, you know, their mind has got to be racing with the possibilities.
Wouldn't we all be?
Right, because like I said, Kansaki has really committed to this board. Amiri's Call will protect what he has on the battlefield this turn, but then passing back to Arya, knowing that Arya did have the chance to board in another burn down the house, may have other removal spells, or maybe can just kill Kansaki next turn. We know that there is a Shadiri Shelter in Arya's hand to be able to protect the Goldspan Dragon if Arya were to be able to draw cards to go along with it.
Yeah, I mean, if Arya lives this turn, there's a limited number of draws that can get her out of it, but if she finds one of those draws, it's not that hard to get out of it. Like, one unexpected windfall, one expressive iteration could very well simply mean that you get to cast infinite spells, make infinite mana with the Goldspan Dragon with Show of Confidence, etc., and just kill out of nowhere. And I've seen this deck do its thing many times, be very scary indeed, but Kansaki is really thinking about it, and there's so much riding on this decision. Nobody can fault Kansaki for being cautious here, Beky.
Absolutely not. But I do think that this is kind of like the safest decision to go ahead with here, because this also holds up Ganja mana to be able to try and take down the Goldspan Dragon. Granted, there, again, is the Shadiri Shelter, but this is technically a lethal attack, so it is going to force something out here. And then also just has the Lair of the Hydra to fall back onto the next turn as well. So I like this decision. I think that it is the safest one that also still holds as many unpredictable cards in hand as possible.
Yeah, so Arya forced to use this much of the Swirling Mist here. Gonna be able to phase out this 4/4. And then there is just 10 damage. Arya's down to 3. And with just a Shadiri Shelter in hand, it really has to find something with this next draw step. All comes down to this card off the top of the library. Can she find something? What is it going to be? It's just a Riverglide Pathway. That is not going to do it.
I mean, you make them make the decision, but it's still just got to be a heartbreaking moment regardless. And on top of it, this Faithful Absence is going to be able to draw out the Shadiri Shelters, so Kansaki can just feel that much safer about it. Because you have to imagine that if the one card that you were dead to was in hand, it would have been slammed on that last turn.
Yeah, there's no way Arya would let you untap, so Kansaki must be feeling, a little bit more safe, a little bit happier. All they have to do is click a tackle. We know that is going to be enough. Kansaki doesn't know it just yet, but we will hopefully maybe see it happen. There it is. It's a tackle. Arya is going to concede, and Kansaki is going to take down the quarterfinal, beating 3-time VML champion Arya Karamchandani. Wow, Bant aggro. I'm a believer, Beky. I'm a believer.
I mean, I think it's a little nice to call it a Bant aggro deck. I guess we've called other decks with just a few counter spells Bant or Sultai as well, so it's not that surprising really, but it really is just like so strong off of the back of these green and white creatures and spells, and I liked how it played together. I don't think it's as strong as Orzhov. I think that is a place where it is weak, but I think that this was an especially strong choice, at least for this first match. And you have to imagine that a lot of these people are picking these decks because they're anticipating at least getting through that first match. Because that's the only thing that you can really prepare for is your first opponent in this top 8. And then at that point, you're just hoping that you make it to that top 4 and that your decision wasn't too rough around the edges.
So, Nicole, do you think we should call it Bant aggro or like Moist Selesnya?
I'll go with Bant. Good.
Actually, what we should really be calling it.
Wait a minute.
What we should really be calling it is the new house, the new family.
Really?
What's the Bant family? Brokers. Okay,
Brokers. The brokers on the counters.
Moist
I've been
brokers?
calling it.
Is that
I've been
what we're
calling
doing?
it bonkers.
No, just brokers.
Bonkers aggro.
Bonkers aggro.
Bonkers aggro.
Ascendancy.
In Kansaki. That was incredible. I mean, it was a little bit unfortunate, I think, for Arya there not really finding the cards, of course, that she needed to combo off game 1. pretty clunky draw. Game 2, kind of the opposite, drew a lot of lands, didn't really find a lot of spells. So, but that is the way that it works. And if that happens to you, this Bant aggro deck will punish you. Luminarch Aspirant, very scary. Wedding Announcement, very scary. Puts a lot of power and toughness on the battlefield. And that is what we saw Kansaki do. So congratulations to Kansaki for making it to the top 4 tonight. And we are able to show you the bracket. There is Kansaki filled in. And I believe we might be able to just kind of fast forward in time and show everybody the winners of the other matches. So Samantha Murphy was the winner over Ruuchu at the top of the bracket. Mythic Mikaela prevailing over Wyatt in the second quarterfinals. And between the Mighty England and Sarah, the Mighty England?
The Mighty England, yeah.
Oh my God, now let me say that again. The Mighty Linguine and Sarah England. It was, in fact, the Mighty Linguine who came out on top. So there is your top 4. These are your semi-finalists for the VML Season 7. And we will be showing both of these matches coming up live. And let's just check with our production team whether we need a little break to get these set up. We are going to have a very, very short break while we get all of these players into their feature matches, get their bums on their seats and kind of challenges sent and ready to go. We will be showing you both of them, so do not worry. Beky, any thoughts on the other 3 semifinalists?
I mean, obviously, like, the Mighty Linguine is a previous VML winner. Mythic Mikaela has been a GP and like big paper event grinder for a long time. And so, like, those are 2 names that I would certainly be shaking in my boots over. And I mean, if I like knew nothing about them and you told me that Kansaki had just beat the Arya Karamchandani, I would be just as afraid. So, I mean, Sarah Murphy, unfortunately, is the only name on here that I'm not like acutely familiar with. But I mean, you got to just respect anyone who's made it this far. So despite me not having the all-knowing of every single player here, is somebody who has the gall and has the ability if they've made it this far.
Yeah, I mean, Samantha certainly has played in multiple VML seasons. I believe has made the playoffs before, at least on 1 occasion, perhaps on 2 occasions. So I'm not that surprised to see her on this list. Is definitely a perennial paper tournament grinder as well. So really happy to see Samantha here. And I believe we are actually ready to look at the slides from the first of our semifinals. So let's go down and see who we're going to be playing. It's going to be Mythic Mikaela, and Mikaela has brought Orzhov Midrange. Nicole, I know you love this deck. I'm going to let you tell everyone about it.
It's funny because I love this deck, but I feel like it's almost like I like this deck before it was cool. I'm like an Orzhov hipster.
Wow!
So
like, you're an Orzhov hipster.
Like it's funny because watching this deck grow from, like, this deck used to play, like 4 Edgar and like have this, it was more of almost like a vampire theme, and it kind of like grew into this like stronger mid-range deck with I honestly just better cards, better more powerful cards. You see Reckoner Bankbuster, one of the latest additions that I've seen to a lot of these lists. I love it. I think it's great. It's a fantastic Magic card. It's super strong. I love it in the mirror actually a lot, and I think it's one of the things that'll give you card advantage. Maybe if you don't have a Wedding Announcement out there and your opponent does, you could still kind of recover a little bit. So I love seeing the 2 of in this list for that. But a really, really solid list here from Mythic Mikaela, who played Orzhov most of the season to great success, as you can see.
Beky, I want to ask you about some cool cards that are in this particular list. Liesa Forgotten Archangel. Tell us about Liesa.
Liesa is a 5-mana 4/5 flying lifelink with whenever another non-token creature you control dies, return that card to its owner's hand at the beginning of the next end step. If a creature an opponent controls would die, exile it instead. I think that this is very good for the mirror. It's also just a really great kind of gotcha card. And there's like little to no downside to playing a 1 of it. And I kind of like that it's taken the place of something like an Edgar, like we were just talking about, used to be like a very big part of this deck. But I think if you're gonna play like another potent card that maybe doesn't fit with that vampire theme, I think that Liesa is just like a really great catch-all and could be a potentially very important draw, especially against the deck that Mikaela is playing against.
Yeah, I agree. I think Laser is a genius kind of inclusion. I had not thought that this would make it in standard, but as you say, pretty nice in the mirror. And Nicole, well, kind of a question for both of you, as I know you're both dog enthusiasts. 3 copies of Spirited Companion.
Woo!
Let's go.
Let's go. Good dog.
Let's go. Neon Dynasty Draft All-Star Spirited Companion, and that is, just incredible. Let's see what is going on the other side. We have Samantha Murphy with Mardu Midrange. So this is kind of a variation, Nicole, on the deck that we just saw, but this is playing 4 copies of Fable of the Mirror Breaker.
Right.
What a card.
I love this list. I love how Samantha Murphy approached the top 8 this time around, recognizing as our 24th seed had to battle, was the 24th of 24, took down Ruuchu, who was our only undefeated player left in the field, to move on now to top 4. So impressive, but recognizing and saying, hey, I'm going to be on the draw a lot. Actually, that's all I'm going to do is probably be drawing, unless my opponent decides to draw themselves. And I need to do something to kind of leverage things back in my direction, saying, you know what, I've had a lot of success with black-white splash something, and she seems to have landed on this red splash, adding Fable the Mirror Breaker, adding Blood Tithe Harvester, and also adding Rip Apart and Showdown of the Scalds. There's 1 Rip Apart in the main and 2 in the side, and 2 Showdown of the Scalds in the side as well. A super powerful magic card. I kind of love it. I love the red splash. Fable and the Mirror Breaker has been absolutely dominating. It's the reason to splash red in this deck. Blood Tithe Harvester, very powerful in itself. I'm not sure I love it in these decks, as it doesn't size up too great against like Shambling Ghasts and things like that, but it's still a very powerful magic card. And Rip Apart, a good answer for cards like your opponent's Wedding Announcements or Meathook Massacres if need be, because you only have so many Vanishing Verses. So you'd rather use those on some of their threats, like their Loaths or their Sorens. So it's really, really solid list here from Samantha.
All right. Let's see if the players are ready to go. Here we are with Live Magic, our first semifinal here on VML Season 7, sponsored by Wizards of the Coast and Good Luck High Five. Oh, we're back to the booth. I was ready to go. I was like,
I know,
yeah,
I did my little drum roll and
action.
everything.
I know.
I'm choking on my water.
This is like classic cast debate. Like, you think you're going down to a different frame and it's just your face. Oh, here we go. And we even have hand cams. So this is incredible stuff here. We have Mythic Mikaela on the bottom half of your screen. And there are those cards we talked about. Reckoner, Bankbuster, Spirited Companion, Wedding Announcement, and main deck Duress. Beky, how does Duress play in this mirror match?
It's kind of weird because like there's so many planeswalkers in both of these decks that you're definitely likely, you likely are keeping a planeswalker in your opening hand, and we do see the Mythic Mikaela probably played enough of this deck to know that that will be the case. Going to go ahead and fire it off immediately and kind of get the early knowledge that's going to do kind of a lot for Mythic Mikaela of there's a lot of lands in my opponent's hand. So at this point, Mythic Mikaela is basically going to know everything that Samantha Murphy draws.
Yeah, just had that Luminarch Aspirant and Wandering Emperor, kept a 5-lander for Samantha. Not that surprising, I think, in this kind of grindy mid-range mirror to keep that kind of land-heavy hand, but does find Blood Tithe Harvester, found a Legion Angel as well. So we are, we have a game here on our hands, Nicole.
Oh, for sure. Mythic Mikaela had a total gas in her hand to start the game, but it's down to 3 cards, and with that Duress being on the play, you can see it's definitely a little bit of card disadvantages, with something you don't really want in this matchup, even though it worked out taking a Wandering Emperor out of Samantha's hand. But Samantha already has sort of a dominating presence on this battlefield. A 4/3 Blood Tithe Harvester is,
that's a force to be reckoned with, for sure. Yeah. And we're going to potentially see this token for Wedding Announcement just jump in front and just absorb some damage here for Mikaela. Mikaela does have kind of the card draw set up, the Reckoner Bankbuster with 3 counters on it, plus this Spirited Companion in hand. So let's see what she can find off the good doggo.
Oh.
Good boy on
Becky's
stack.
a big fan.
I'm a huge fan. Look, it's so cute. What a
So
good doggy.
cute.
I love it. Finds another Wedding Announcement too, which is a pretty good card to find.
So it kind of feels like Mikaela is a little bit in the almost like the controlling seat here, Beky, kind of against the pressure that Samantha's putting on.
Yeah, I think when you're playing cards like the copies of Luminarch Aspirant as well as that Blood Type Harvester, you're definitely sliding into that aggressive slot, which I think that Samantha has also picked up on. And I like the sequence between those 2 drops and just being able to try and get as much damage across as possible. And now is going to be able to play something like this Legion Angel and just kind of go Legion Angel into Legion Angel into Legion Angel, which I think is going to be pretty sweet and potentially something that Mikaela is going to have a really hard time dealing with until we get to enough mana to cast this Amaria's Call or find some other way to get rid of creatures on the board.
So Samantha thinking about where this token from, this counter rather from Luminarch Aspirant is going, is actually going to put it on a Luminarch Aspirant itself. Blood Type Harvester is a 4/3, and Mikaela, I believe, can crew that Reckoner Bankbuster. I believe it's crew 2, or is it crew 3?
It's 3.
Oh, it's 3. Okay, so no crew of the Bankbuster available, which makes this Harvester a nice attack here. But wow, sending in the Aspirant as well. Is this bluffing a Wandering Emperor?
This is bold. I mean, I think that it has to be a bluff of a Wandering Emperor.
I love it.
It's very bold.
This is great. Yeah. It looks like this bluff might get through. Mikaela's like, the cogs are turning, right? You think, okay, there's
one. The moment you look at the graveyard, you know that that's what Mikaela's thinking.
Nicole, are you calling this bluff?
See, there's a world where Mikaela actually might not even want to make this trade. I know this sounds crazy,
but
with
the Wedding Announcement
when you have Wedding Announcement and a second Wedding Announcement coming down, playing 2 Wedding Announcements onto an empty board feels so bad. Like, that's the whole point of Wedding Announcement. Even though Mikaela's, like, I agree, she's in the control slot in this matchup as of right now, but she still needs that pressure on the battlefield. She needs creatures in order to benefit from her cards. So she might not want to do that. I know it's not a 2-for-1 per se, because the companion already placed itself and it's a token, and you see now you can 1-for-1 trade with that Luminarch Aspirant if it wants to, or just profitably block with the Welcoming Vampire. So
that is a great point, Nicole. That is a great point. Great no block there from Mythic Mikaela. Also, still a great bluff from Samantha.
Yes.
Let's not take the achievement away, because I love that kind of play. So perfect stuff. And now we are kind of, the board state is a little bit more stable. Right, Mikaela has all these 2/2s on the ground, has the 3/4 Welcoming Vampire. But Beky, what if you're Samantha? Like, are you just gonna Legion Angel, or do you look at this Loth?
That's what I would do personally. I think that the way that Samantha has this board set up, Samantha's already in a good enough place that I don't think you need to do anything more other than go Legion Angel into Legion Angel. And taking a look at what is in Mikaela's list, there's 1 copy of Meat Hook Massacre. So the chance that you get punished, just one, the chance that you get punished by your whole board falling as a result of this decision is not very likely. And it's not like you don't get punished for playing Lolth and minusing to make spiders and then those dying to a Meat Hook Massacre too. So it is going to be the Lolth decision here, and going to be able to make some spiders to also be able to do blocking of multiple creatures, which I certainly respect as well. But when your opponent knows about the Legion Angel, I like just going Legion Angel into Legion Angel unless a blaringly better choice usually comes up.
Yeah, I think it's definitely an interesting choice. I can also understand wanting to get Loth down and get that card draw going as well when you don't have a ton going on in hand. But let's see what Mikaela has. This is the second Welcoming Vampire, which that's quite scary if, you're on the other side of the battlefield, potentially drawing 2 free cards every turn.
Speaking of drawing 2 free cards every turn, have you heard about Wedding Announcement?
I mean, I've gone up against this card a couple of times in different formats, Beky, and it's not a fun one to see on the other side.
Different formats. Are you talking about limited?
I'm always talking about limited.
Okay. I just had a moment where I was like,
Why
what?
not talking about
Who's
limited?
playing? Who's playing Wedding Announcement? Pioneer? What is happening?
Like, it's a
Alchemy,
brave
maybe.
new world out there, okay? We exploring now. All right, so back over to Samantha, and this lot is going to start drawing cards. That's another Luminarch aspirant.
Ooh. That's a
So-
pretty good draw.
Yeah, it is, yeah. Samantha could definitely have a double spell turn here with either Legion Angel into a 2-drop or even just the two drops.
Mikaela's hand is so good, though.
Oh, so nice. Amiria's Call on this battlefield, when your creatures are kind of the same size as each other.
Same
definitely
size,
very
but-
attractive.
But also about to get bigger because there's a second wedding announcement that's going to flip.
Oh, wow. So, Nicole, when you're in this board store, and you've played this style of deck certainly a lot, is it just Meat Hook Massacre or Bust, or how else can you get out of this?
It's hard to say now that we see that Mythic Mikaela has the full card draw engines going. The wedding announcement, the bank busters, the welcoming vampire. This is going to be a little bit difficult, but we could see Mikaela not yet in a good place last turn to start attacking, and depending on what they want to do with this Amaria's Call, even if they want to burn it right now, might not even attack at all this turn, and kind of just going to give Samantha that time to maybe draw out to see cards, perhaps like a Meat Hook Massacre. But we got to remember, Mikaela's playing some in her deck as well, as she's going to take a look to see what Samantha's got going on.
Is there any better feeling in Magic than when your opponent duresses you and you don't have a non-creature spell?
All right, that's fair. When your opponent mind rots you, but you have no cards in hand.
Gotcha.
That actually doesn't feel good. That feels
that
feels
feels
bad because you have no
confusing.
cards in hand,
Yeah, that's true.
which is
We
the
want-
actual worst feeling in Magic is having no cards in hand.
I'm actually
So
going
it
to say
looks like Michaela's gonna be sending these welcoming vampires at Lolth.
What do you think is the actual worst feeling, Nicole?
oh, the worst feeling?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know.
Or were you about to say that having no cards in hand is actually okay?
Yeah, that means everything's on the battlefield, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm
I was
good.
like, you're the aggro player. You probably love that. You're like, I'm just chugging along. Let's go.
It's like I had
There are
18
two
points of
kinds
burn
of
in my
players.
hand. You're dead.
Yep.
Of course I don't have any cards in my hand. Game's over.
And here we go. Here are the blocks. And if you're Samantha, you've got to be thinking, why are these coming across? Although, of course, I guess with the second wedding announcement flipping, it's possible, of course, that, throwing away Welcoming Vampire isn't that bad because you're unlikely to get the triggers that much.
Mhm.
Plus, here is the Wandering Emperor. This one is not a bluff. This one is very real indeed. And she's going to come down and eat up that Legion Angel. So Samantha down to just 3 creatures on the board, but Lolth is so annoying and just keeps putting counters on herself.
Well, she doesn't do it herself. She does it by creatures dying. So, it's a you win some, you lose some, literally.
Literally. And speaking of winning some, Fable of the Mirror Breaker, we were talking about this card before the round even started. Beky, what's it going to do here?
I mean, if it is the play, I'm of the mindset that I would probably just do the combination of Legion Angel, Blood Tithe Harvester, just commit as much to the board as possible because it's about to become a race between Mikaela and Samantha here. And Fable the Mirror Breaker is, well, it's hard because you also want Fable the Mirror Breaker to sit on the field for the longest amount of time. This would take some decision making for me. Like, my gut feeling would be to just use all of my mana as efficiently as possible, and then at the same time, like I just said, you want the Fable the Mirror Breaker to sit on the battlefield as long as possible. And Fable the Mirror Breaker does some nice things with some of the creatures that are in play, so it's certainly a tough decision. I do appreciate that this was the call. I think that, like, now that I've talked it through a little bit, I definitely agree with Samantha that keeping this on the board and trying to get that to flip into Kikijiki as soon as possible is the right call. Snap flip.
Snap flip. Sleep and weep.
Perfect.
So here is Fable the Mirror Breaker that's going to make a 2/2 goblin that makes a treasure when it attacks. We also have Luminarch Aspirants going off, putting counters on various creatures. Those spiders, I have to admit, are probably one of my least favorite sights in Magic right now. They're just so annoying. They have reach, they have menace. There's two of them. Like, it's just awful.
And they're
It's
like
awful.
real baby spiders, because like you step on them and they go away, but then there's just 2 more next turn if you step on them. So they're just like everywhere.
Wow.
That is a terrifying image that you've painted.
I actually don't step on spiders. I let them out. I catch them.
Yeah, I also wouldn't step on a spider, mainly because I'm too scared to go near them. But remember, like, in the early days of the internet, when someone would like post you a link and they'd be like, "Oh, look at this cool video," or whatever, and it would just be like in the middle of a normal video. Yeah, it would be like a bunch of spiders coming out of like a spider's nest, and it was terrifying. That's just what you put me in mind of.
Have you seen the TikTok trends? The TikTok trends are basically that same thing. It's a normal video, but then like a spider pops out of something, but then some guy comes and he like puts his hand over the spider and stops it and then turns to you and is like, "It's okay. I've got you. Everything's going to be okay. The spider is gone." Wow. So it's evolved over time. It has evolved.
That sounds great. That's like, you know, I'm glad that we're maturing as a species, shall we say. And speaking of feeling safe, that other wedding announcements, and we have in fact got Amiria's call going. So these creatures of Mikaela's are very safe this turn, at least from any damage-based removal or blocks. And you know, Nicole, you brought this up earlier. There's no attack. It's just Amiria's call, no attack.
It's just, you know, holding steady. As long as Samantha keeps popping out these blockers. And the thing is, if Mikaela goes in and attacks, Samantha is going to attack back. Now, Samantha is at a little bit higher of a life total at 19, but definitely wants to maintain her life total for cards like Loath here. So it's going to be a lot of staring at each other. This happens a lot. And looking at the deck lists, it looks like there is only 2 copies of Meathook Massacre in the Mardu deck and only 1 copy in the main deck of the Orzhov deck. So
wow, if
we're waiting for a sweeper, we might be here for a little while.
I mean, both of these players have drawn a lot of cards, to be fair. Loth drawing an extra card every turn. Mikaela drawing multiple cards off those announcements, bank busters, etc. But you definitely hear what you're saying, Nicole. The prospect of a Meathook Massacre and just cleaning up all of this is a little bit further away. So Beky, while we're waiting, or while both players are maybe looking for that or looking for ways to get an edge, if you're Mikaela, when are you going to just start kind of just getting in?
Next turn. Now that I have a bunch of flyers that aren't really killable and can really start like putting the pressure on, I think that we're at that precipice where the next turn is pretty safe to just like start getting in there and start trying to like push the idea that like somebody's got to win this game, and I'm hoping that it's me.
Samantha's hoping that it's not Mikaela, and the Vanishing Verse is the first step on the way to kind of getting rid of some of these big flies that you were talking about. We see Samantha prioritizing the Welcoming Vampire as a potential source of card advantage. That one is being sent to the ether. And Samantha has also found Graveyard Trespasser. Normally we think of this card as being pretty great in these mid-range mirrors, Nicole, but is it going to do anything here?
It's kind of backed up on the battlefield. And one of the things you look for with Graveyard Trespasser is, can I attack and can I attack profitably? You don't really care nighttime, daytime. Sometimes you just need that extra 1, 2, 3 points of damage just to kind of finish off your opponent. Sometimes you just attack with your Graveyard Trespasser or your Graveyard Glutton into, you know, a 5/5 because your opponent's at 2, you just eat 2 things and you kill them. Like, that's not really going to happen here with Graveyard Trespasser. It's just kind of going to sit there and be a 3/3 that Mikaela has 0 interest in killing.
Yeah, very expensive to kill, very sticky, annoying to get rid of, but ultimately not doing that much on this giant board. And, you know, if you think about what you were saying, Nicole, about burning them out with that graveyard, I'm not even sure, Beky, that there were that many cards put to the graveyard this game.
Yeah, definitely not a whole lot. And I think the important part about things like the Blood Tithe Harvester and like this Graveyard Trespasser is, once again, they're ground creatures. They're not going to be able to stop this 7/7 and 6/6 angel. And like, sure, these spiders will be able to block a lot of damage and just be really annoying, but we do have this Infernal Grasp in hand, so that could be enough to at least get rid of one of those spiders, attack in, get rid of Lolth, and then you don't have to worry about a bunch of spiders coming onto the field every single turn.
Yeah, that getting rid of that Lolth definitely seems like a good kind of stepping stone strategy for Mikaela. Nicole, what are you hoping for if you're Samantha now?
Well, if Samantha, it's starting to feel a bit hopeless. Even a Midhook Massacre at this point wouldn't be big enough to kill either one of the angels on the side of Mikaela. You're looking at your Kiki-Jiki flipping, and honestly, that's probably one of the only things you would want the Graveyard Trespasser for at the moment, because you can flip the Kiki-Jiki, copy the Graveyard Trespasser, and like eat an extra thing every turn as the token comes in. But that's just, I think that would be just too little too late. You know, this game is not going to go on another 13 turns, even though I know it feels like we've been at a stalemate for a little while. We can see the card advantage that Mythic Mikaela has built up, 3 cards in hand to Samantha's 0, and much bigger creatures on her side of the battlefield as well.
Yeah, Mikaela finding more removal. There is a Hagra Mauling as well. That Takanuma is in hand, ready to get something back from the graveyard should she need it. Second Graveyard Trespasser and Kiki-Jiki flips. And I just feel that frustration, you know, if you're on Samantha's side of the battlefield. These big flyers, there are not that many things that can kill them in the deck, right? There's Vanishing Verse. That's kind of it? Question mark?
I mean, if these Blood Tithe Harvesters still had all of the bloods they had come into play with, you could have minused or sacrificed one of them to kill the 6/6, but you still couldn't have killed the 7/7. So, yeah, it's Vanishing Verse or bust for these big flyers.
Just found a Haunted Ridge. Oh, we're gonna ditch the Graveyard Trespasser to the Blood token. That makes sense because, like Nicole pointed out, there's actually not enough mana to Midhook Massacre and kill both of these big flyers, or even one of these big flyers. I guess there's probably enough mana to kill one of them with this land drop. So things looking good for Mikaela, and this is still game number 1, Beky. We just buckling in for the long haul.
I mean, I was about to say we might be, but I mean, it definitely feels like it was kind of inevitable there for Samantha. Like, there wasn't going to be a whole lot to really be able to do to fight against those angels in any short amount of time, and had exhausted the resources to draw those extra cards, and potentially is realizing that there is kind of a scary situation where you would run out of time in this, and deciding to just say, I'm going to kind of cut my losses and hope to just like change my deck into a little more of an aggro strategy and win out along the way. However, Mythic Mikaela's deck seemed very good at combating pretty much any aggressive strategy.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Let's just get back to the view and focus on Mikaela's sideboarding if we could, because I think there's a lot of decision making going on here. There's multiple choices, right? This sideboard is stacked. There's the second Midhook Massacre, Raven Feeblement, Farewell, Go Blanks, Legion Angels, Starnheim Unleashed. There's just so many different options here. Are you tempted to bring in something like a Farewell or similar, Nicole?
I don't think I would want to play a Farewell here. It's just so expensive, and it's just like a bit clunky against these decks. And a lot of times you see a stalemate like you did in the last game where if Mikaela feels like she's ahead, she just doesn't want to play farewell. And I don't think that if she's behind, that it's going to help her necessarily get back into the game. It is a way to answer something like a wedding announcement or a Meat Hook massacre, but Mikaela wants to have those in play too. So I think it's kind of an awkward card.
Yeah, I definitely see what you mean, Nicole. And let's have a look at the opening hand here. Mikaela hesitantly keeping this 7. The only lands are the Amelia's Call plus a Plains. Does have a Reckoner Bank Buster though, Beky. What do you think of this?
I probably would have shipped it, but I mean, Mikaela, no fear, also drew Plains. So on top of that, gonna be able to play either the Welcoming Vampire or the Wedding Announcement. Likely gonna be the Welcoming Vampire into the Wedding Announcement to try to draw more cards. Also just gonna draw Swamp because there were never gonna be any
Sure.
problems anyway.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was honestly wrong of me to doubt.
Do we use this Fracture here to get rid of Kiki Jiki, or do we just not worry about it for now? Ooh.
Oh, I guess not worry about it for now is going to be the line, getting this wedding announcement down and going. And so we are going to see Kiki Jiki do some work here, rummaging away 2 of these spare lands, and those are some nice draws for Samantha. Luminarch Aspirant and Rip Apart that can deal with one of these, either this Bank Buster or announcement, Nicole.
Yes, definitely one of the perks of playing red in this deck, being able to rip apart. And we'll see that Luminarch Aspirant coming down and looking like they're going to hold on. She's going to hold on to that rip apart just a bit longer and just continue to build her board here, which is definitely a solid play. Oh, but no, going to cash in that treasure.
Yeah, cashing in that treasure. Getting rid of the Bank Buster is really sweet, I think, potentially. That is representing 3 cards. And just kind of it's annoying, right? It's annoying. It's a 4/4. It makes
for
treasure.
sure.
Let's just get rid of it now.
It could get in the way, and a card like Wedding Announcement, like we said earlier, if Samantha is able to pressure Mikaela enough that Mikaela is going to have to block or not be able to profitably use or keep the tokens that the Wedding Announcement is making, the Wedding Announcement is not a card anymore. If you can get rid of the tokens, who cares if it pumps your team? So, and Samantha saying, I have control of the board right now. I'm going to keep growing my creatures. I'm going to keep pushing my board presence. So I don't care about your wedding announcement as much as I care about your way to draw out of my board presence. So.
And here is that goblin token from Fable. Beky, this goblin has gotten pretty big.
Yeah, and it's going to prompt a lot of blocks, and I imagine if this block does come across, it's going to likely prioritize that Welcoming Vampire. You just don't want it to draw any more cards, and I like this decision from Mikaela as well. It is kind of going against what we were talking about previously on the last game, when right before this wedding announcement flips, you want to keep as many creatures as possible, but with the amount that Samantha was amassing, it felt a lot less doable to continue to hold on to that same thought process here.
So Mikaela has a couple of options here. Luminarch Aspirant was the draw. Soul Shatter could potentially edict away this Loth. I believe it hits Planeswalkers, right? And there is also the option of that Meat Hook Massacre to just clear away the board, but that leaves Loth with a lot of counters.
Yeah, Soul Shatter can hit Planeswalkers, but so can Fracture. So going to go ahead and use that one instead and continue to hold on to this Soul Shatter. Going to be a good answer to that Graveyard Trespasser, though. Weirdly enough, I think that the Luminarch Aspirant is more spooky than the Graveyard Trespasser. Is that crazy, Nicole, or would you feel the same way as somebody who's played this deck a lot?
No, absolutely not, especially when you have an army of 2/2s on the side of Mikaela. Your Graveyard Trespasser's coming down as a 3/3. They could just double block it and trade one for one, or a token for your card. Maybe you lose a life because something gets eaten, but that Luminarch Aspirant is going to keep things growing. And the way that Samantha can keep dominating here is by growing her things better than Mikaela's things, as we saw Mikaela did last game. So that's how Mikaela won the last game. She had 6 6s against Samantha's 2 2s and 3 3s. So Samantha looking to do that this game.
So we see Samantha actually holding this Sundown Pass in hand, which is pretty interesting play here. Decided not to use the reflection to copy something. Beky, what's the thinking here? As
Probably
we see
just
Hook Massacre go.
Yeah, probably potentially hoping to just use it to, copy, get an instant speed interaction here from Graveyard Trespasser. If that's the thing that you want to copy, like, might as well just do this. But unfortunately, will be met by one of the potentially 2 Mia Hook Massacres now in Mythic Mikaela's deck. And very nicely, just going to be able to make another 2-2 onto this board because of that unflipped wedding announcement.
So we saw Mikaela take down the first game after a very long slog through, a giant board stall, eventually just kind of overpowering with those flyers. Now game number 2, Mikaela in a nice spot again with having Meathook massacred and just taken out Samantha's entire board. No Loth, no creatures, just that fable of the Mirror Breaker going. And if you're in Mikaela's seat, Nicole, are you feeling the call of the invite?
Yeah, I mean, you know what? This game started off favor Samantha Murphy, and Mythic Mikaela being able to play 3 wedding announcements and, getting all of the value off of each and every one of them feels pretty good, as Samantha just can't seem to keep her mark on this battlefield.
So, Legion Angel, another huge threat for Mikaela, and things are looking really good now for Mythic Mikaela to potentially reach the finals of VML Season 7. This has been a very interesting kind of mirror match, Nicole, because we kind of talked about this red splash in the Mardu deck before, but it hasn't seemed that impactful. Beky, do you agree?
Yeah, I think this is just a rough matchup for it. This potentially could have been a deck that Samantha was playing a lot to combat. I could certainly see it being a lot quicker against something like those or Jeskai strategies, and this just seems like a matchup where it has play and certainly can have better games, and this just seems to be one of those worst games. I think that also Mikaela is playing a version that is just like a lot more card advantage heavy and is getting just so much value off of the amount of card advantage that's being able to occur over this mid-range matchup.
Yeah, the card advantage has definitely been crazy. The wedding announcements drawing cards, welcoming vampires drawing cards, especially in conjunction with those wedding announcements, super sweet combo. Reckoner Bankbuster making a great showing for itself. And Samantha finds Graveyard Trespasser. That is going to come down, but she's only at 6 life.
Yeah, 6 life and some big attackers on the side of Mythic Mikaela as well. And we see Mythic Mikaela having the answer for the Graveyard Trespasser without needing to even discard. So Soul Shatter going to take care of that. And Mythic Mikaela goes up to 23, and a Hagra Mauling to take care of another blocker.
Wow.
Oh,
and Duress sees that the way is clear. There's just a Needle Verge pathway in hand. Hagra Mauling could take down one of these.
Could not.
Blockers.
There's not a second blue source or black source.
Oh, there's no second black source.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh my goodness. And actually, something that you don't see very often, Hagra Mauling only costing 3 because of the lack of basics on Samantha's side of the battlefield. But it is going to be a massive force coming across. That is a 4/4 Luminarch Aspirant, 4/4 tokens. And one of those tokens is going to get through. The others are going to be blocked, but Samantha is going to be left with stone cold nothing and down to just 1 life after Meathook Massacre. Can Samantha find anything? That is a land. That is not going to do it. So Mythic Mikaela is going to win in the semifinals here. The first semifinal of the VML Season 7 Top 8. Wow. Nicole, what a great game that from Mythic Mikaela. Just masterful.
That was incredibly well played. Mikaela knew when to keep the army home and when to attack all out. She knew how to sequence her cards, when to play everything. Played great. A very well played game also by Samantha Murphy, who battled from our 24th seed, battled through the wild card, top 16, top 8. had her work cut out for her certainly, but an impressive season for Samantha as well. But congratulations to Mikaela, who's moving on to the finals.
Yeah, that was great stuff there. So, yeah, good games to both of our players. Congrats to Mikaela. She is moving one step closer to her dream of making the set championship. So, I'm very excited for Mikaela because I know she's been trying for a long time. She has been here since season 1 of the VML, played in every single season, has made multiple playoffs, multiple top 8s, but has never managed to get the crown. So, maybe this time it is, it's her time, Nicole.
You know what? I hope for her that, things work out. Try not to be biased, but like it is really awesome to see a player like Mikaela, who has worked hard. She's dedicated. She is extremely skilled, and as we could see in the last match that she played live, all the pressure in the world, I feel like, and she just played beautifully. And it's that skill that can take down the championship. So if she plays that well in the finals, I would not be surprised if she takes this whole thing down.
So let's just see where our other semi-final is at. I believe the players are probably being ushered into all of their, getting set up. Oh yeah, let's just have a look at the bracket once again. So we see there Mythic Mikaela advancing over Samantha Murphy from the top half of the bracket, and then the little question marks there saying who is going to win out of TheMightyLinguine and Kansaki. Beky, do you have any thoughts after watching that mid-range mirror? Like, what do you think are the important things for these players?
I think that the important part is that none of these black-white players have to play against a blue-red deck. That's I think one of the kind of the roughest matchups, and I think that honestly, looking at Mikaela's deck and how strong it looked in like this kind of faux mirror match, Mikaela's list looks extremely strong for mirrors. It has an aggressive slant if it needs to. It has a lot of card advantage to beat out the mid-range mirror. And it has just kind of like a few gotcha cards amongst the list. And again, the Liesa is a huge part of that as well. So I think that we're looking at what could be a really tough finals that'll be really back and forth, especially considering the two decks that are going to be potentially going up against Mythic Mikaela are both also kind of mid-range strategies.
Well, let's have a look at those two decks now as we get ready for our second semi-final of the evening. It is TheMightyLinguine, and needs no introduction, of course, co-chair of the VML. Multiple VML titles to her name, and she's pro Orzhov mid-range as well. Nicole, I think this is kind of a similar list to what Mikaela was playing just now.
It looks extremely familiar. Yes, I see that, she's playing your stock 4 of wedding announcements. You got to have your Luminarch aspirants. We've seen some liaisons. I do see a Path of Peril hiding in there. So
okay,
that's interesting. I'm curious to see that one in action for sure. But Loths, I like the Starnheim unleashed a lot in this matchup, in this list at the very least. A great, foretell card. Not as expensive as something like Amaria's Call, but still with a similar effect, being able to kind of establish yourself in the air against decks that might have trouble with flyers.
So Beky, if you're in TheMightyLinguine's spot and you're like, oh, what should I submit for the finals, what do you think of her strategy of go blank? We know here in the booth that TheMightyLinguine is a big fan of mind rods, has submitted up to 8 mind rods in a week before. Do you like go blank? Looking at
I love go blank. I love go blank. I think go blank is amazing. I think that I'm so happy that Wizards finally gave us a really good mind rot card in the form of go blank. I love it. I too was playing go blanks in my main board. When I'm playing on the ladder, I play go blanks in the main board. I think that it's a great job to get kind of like a weird way of card advantage in the mirror. I think it's great against the blue red decks that you kind of struggle against because it's really good at just clearing out out the yard against Lear and making sure that you get rid of some of those like final few cards, or at least making them a little more likely to stumble, as well as just like taking away things that they can galvanic, or like taking away early galvanic iterations by making sure that you can't flash those back. So big fan of Go Blink. Love the decision to play some in the main and the final 2 in the side as well. I'm very just stoked by what Caroline has brought, and I'm excited to see how this matchup is going to go, especially considering we just watched this Bant aggro deck have a really good showing.
Yeah, this Bant aggro list, normally, Nicole, I think we think of this Orzhov deck as being favored against creature matchups, right? Like, you look at the removal package, you look at the way that it comes off the ground, and you think, okay, it's going to be tough for a creature deck to get past it. Do you think that this Bant aggro list is susceptible to that, or do you think that, it has that power to push through?
Well, I'm going to say, like, going in, I feel like a lot of these Orzhov decks almost, like, left behind Meathook Massacre. Like, we used to see Meathook Massacre, you'd play 4 or 3 and then one on the sideboard. And that's just not really how these decks have been built, like, especially what we've seen so far in our top 8. So not needing to worry about that as much, because cards like Prosperous Innkeeper or Luminarch Aspirant are definitely susceptible to an early Meathook Massacre. But these cards can also grow. There are cards like Wedding Announcement to kind of get things out of control, or an Essica's Chariot that, while the cats might go to an initial Meathook Massacre, there's normally a follow-up play of some sort, something else maybe to crew that Chariot, a Renin 7 token, or a couple of tokens off of a Wandering Emperor or something like that.
All right, well, let's go down to the action and see who's going to join Mythic Mikaela in the grand finals tonight. Is it going to be the TheMightyLinguine on Orzhov, or is it going to be Kansaki on Bant? This hand looking a little land light, Beky.
That's putting it nicely. I don't think there's any way that you keep this. I think I would ship it.
We have seen Orzhov players keep one-landers on this stream before and win with them. But this 6, though, is looking really nice. Look at these. Look at that. Reckoner, Bankbuster, Vanishing Verse, Wedding Announcement, and the Wandering Emperor. Nicole, could you ask for anything more?
No, this is great. Definitely want to see that third land. But having that Bankbuster to kind of, smooth things out, hopefully, if things don't go MightyLinguine's way over the next 2 draw steps, or 3 draw steps, I suppose she has. So, and there we go. Third land.
There we go.
Golden.
Found that beautiful plains, the full art Japanese plains, of course, from Neon Dynasty. And Kansaki kept a pretty nice hand as well. Has that, kind of similar to that first hand that we saw with Kansaki against Arya earlier on. Double Wandering Emperor plus Essica's Chariot plus ramp into turn number 4.
One good draw deserves another, as we see that Prosperous Innkeeper was the draw for Kansaki there. So very timely, and loving that turn 3. A Chariot or Wandering Emperor, I feel like there is no wrong answer here.
Beky, what's your answer?
My answer would probably be the Chariot, because, again, this is just a situation where you're trying to be as aggressive as possible and just hope that you don't run into that Meathook Massacre. And I think that that's going to be the road to victory for Kansaki. And so I think just getting that little choo-choo train, the little kitty cat choo-choo train, onto the battlefield and up to speed as quickly as possible. I don't know.
There's a vehicle. No locomotive
a train is a vehicle
in that vehicle.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it is. It's made of cats.
Yeah, I mean, if we're gonna be that lax about what we call vehicles, it may as well be a bicycle or something. I don't know.
We do have motorbikes as vehicles in
that's true.
In Kamigawa. So
that's true, we do. I don't know what that means, but I'm glad we talked about it. I have some news for both of you. I have looked through Caroline's deck list, the TheMightyLinguine's deck list. There are 0 copies of Meathook Massacre.
I did see that. That is pretty incredible. So
0 copies. So she's gonna have to fight.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, Meathook Massacre is okay in the mirror. It's actually not that great in the Orzhov mirrors. It's a little awkward, because you
I usually
get, like,
use it as a way to deal the last 10 damage.
Yeah.
I kill 10 of my creatures, I deal you 10 damage. The amount of times that I've killed off of Mia Hook Massacre, killing like a lot of my own creatures, kind of a lot, but it kind of makes me really happy every single time I do it.
Yeah, I guess we get to see if Kansaki can capitalize on that.
Well, first of all, we are going to see the MightyLinguine take out the Escus Chariot with Vanishing Verse. No fourth land. Decides to go with that wedding announcement, just get some board presence going. Duress in hand, that could take out maybe one of these Wandering Emperors. And Kansaki does not find an untapped fourth land, but has many welcoming vampires. Just incredibly generous hosts over on the battlefield.
Hosts to doom.
Hosts to doom.
I should have said that like with a vampire accent.
Doom.
Oh no.
What's a vampire accent?
I want to suck your blood.
Okay, perfect. Loved it. Oh, speaking of welcoming vampires,
all of you.
It was. The MightyLinguine finds one of her own, but still no crucial fourth land. That's a lot. That's 8 power on the other side of the battlefield. And, you know, Infernal Grasp is not really that helpful here, as it does cost you 2 life to cast, Nicole.
Right. But one of the things that the MightyLinguine does have going here is the wedding announcement. If she can survive just a little bit longer, the welcoming vampires can bounce and then hers can outsize. She's just worried about Kansaki having an answer for either the welcoming vampire or this token being at 8 life and having 8 power and then a Lair of the Hydra on the battlefield already.
Right.
So it's a scary place to be.
Yeah, it looks like Kansaki is not going to fire anything up, just holds up these Wandering Emperors, and that makes a lot of sense, hoping to eat up the welcoming vampire on MightyLinguine's side of the battlefield. There is that 1/1 available for the chump block as well. And wow, it looks like it's going to be a crew from Reckoner Bankbuster not blocking the welcoming vampire into a potential Wandering Emperor, and just saying, okay, well, since you didn't attack with 5 creatures, I will go to 2.
Oh, this is going to be a little bit of a rough follow-up, but again, like the Lair of the Hydra is just such a spooky thing to be staring down, and stumbling on mana has definitely not made this any easier on the MightyLinguine.
Finds the 4th land, finally. Is it too little too late? We see a Ren and 7, that's a huge token, that is a 5/5. Infernal Grasp cannot kill anything now that the MightyLinguine is at 2 life, so things looking pretty dire here for the MightyLinguine. Can hold up the Wandering Emperor as a surprise removal spell. She's not out of it yet.
We'll see if Kansaki decides to fire up this Lair of the Hydra or fire in a Wandering Emperor and put a counter on one of their own welcoming vampires in the air. This makes it a little more difficult to profitably block. So we'll see.
So key moments now in game number 1 of the second semi-final here at VML Season 7. One of these 2 players is joining Mythic Mikaela in the grand finals. Kansaki looking like they are in a dominating position here in game number 1. But the MightyLinguine has 3 blockers, has a Wandering Emperor, and Kansaki is thinking about that Lair of the Hydra. You see the hover over there. We know, of course, if Lair of the Hydra gets fired up, there's very little that Caroline can do about it. But Kansaki thinking, what if it's double Vanishing Verse?
I mean, it's good to always think about those things, and thinking about those things constantly is why we see people like Kansaki this far into this tournament. You have to be thinking, what's the worst case scenario? You can't just go blazing into every situation, assuming that your opponent doesn't have anything. So I respect, especially under the circumstances, taking this amount of time, and making sure, like, if that is the case, like, what's actually going to be my decision, what is actually the right call, and doesn't actually fire up the lair of the Hydra as a result of that final decision.
So here it is. No layer of the Hydra activation. Kansaki thinking, you know, I have an Escus Chariot. I have plenty of stuff to deploy after this attack step, even if it's not lethal. And the MightyLinguine really just has that one trick up her sleeve now that's available, the Wandering Emperor. Nicole, is this going to be enough? Her life total is so low.
Yeah, it's going to be enough to get to the next turn, but I don't think much is promised beyond that. I kind of like the conservative play from Kansaki, kind of like taking it easy. Instead of being like, how can I win this game? You need to start asking yourself, how can I lose this game? And you need to avoid picking lines that do that. So I really like this play. I really like the cautiousness on Kansaki's side. Obviously, we can see both hands. They can't see each other's hands. So we know what's going on. But so I like this conservative play.
And you see Kansaki passing priority, saying it's on you to do something or you'll die to this welcoming vampire in the air that's unblocked. And of course the MightyLinguine has to deploy the Wandering Emperor now. Kansaki can flash out his own Wandering Emperor and kind of save that the vampire that's being threatened to be eaten up. But would you be tempted instead to just play a chariot and get 2 more lethal attackers on the battlefield?
Oh yeah.
I think that's kind of where my head would be at as well. I think my head would be there.
More cats.
Yes.
Okay. I mean, I'm never going to argue against more cats.
Yeah.
Always more cats. Kansaki really, really thinking about this, getting every decision, making sure that every decision is, you know, exactly where they want to be. And there it is. Okay, so welcoming vampire number 2 goes down. Welcoming vampire number 1 gets eaten. And here is that chariot. What can the MightyLinguine do to answer this threat, as long, you know, bearing in mind there is that layer of the Hydra still on the battlefield as well?
Yeah, we did gain 2 life off of that very nice final wording from the Wandering Emperor. So we do have some wiggle room for an Infernal Grasp now.
Okay.
A little bit.
That's
a little bit, but we have it.
The tiniest amount of wiggle room. There is a Luminarch Aspirant that could come down. There's a wedding announcement that can make another 1/1. The Wandering Emperor is on 1. So she, you know, is kind of stuck going up unless the MightyLinguine wants to just cash her in for that 2/2 now. Is it time for that, Nicole?
I think it may be. You're the way that the MightyLinguine has to look at this is like between the 6/6, the 2/2 cats, the Escus Chariot. Your opponent has 4 cards in hand, could have something else to crew that Escus Chariot with, and the lair of the Hydra. So it has multiple attackers here. You know, it might be time. MightyLinguine also has to think about, how can I still win this game? I need to like keep playing, and if I cash in my Wandering Emperor, can I still win this game? Because it does represent some board presence and being able to build up her side of the board, but it looks like ultimately she is going to cash in for a 3/3 Vigilant Samurai.
Yeah, that wedding announcement being flipped actually pretty relevant here, meaning that this 3/3 can, you know, profitably block those cats on the other side of the battlefield, and the MightyLinguine just still hanging on by a thread. Feels like it's worth it to send this welcoming vampire at red and 7, maybe.
Oh, this is a tough. This is one of those like small make or break decisions when you're at this low of a life total, especially if you're looking at this Infernal Grasp and you're like, cool, I could use this. What possibly goes wrong though? And I do think that just not
So
attacking
many
here
things.
is the safer play, though it does hurt.
It does hurt, and I totally understand what you mean. Like, you want to get that Ren and 7 off the battlefield, and you feel like, okay, I'm at 4 life, I have the tiniest amount of wiggle room, you know, but look at that, a second Asuka's Chariot was the draw for Kansaki, so that could provide 2 more cats to crew the first Asuka's Chariot. It does mean that the layer of the Hydra can't really be fired up profitably.
Right. Also, the option of Wandering Emperor and Welcoming Vampire just coming down, being able to draw, playing Welcoming Vampire into Wandering Emperor, drawing a card, then using those 2 power creatures to crew the chariot on and attacking for a whole bunch and making another 7/7 too. So,
yeah, that's not to be sniffed at. The 7/7, that's going to crew up the chariot, threatening, of course, to make the second, you know, a third 7/7 even.
Yes. Oh, this was like one of the OG combinations you saw when Asuka's Chariot came, or when Ren and 7 came out, is you were like, wow, we can copy a Ren and 7 token with Asuka's Chariot. Remember when that was the bee's knees thing to do? It's back.
Yeah, it is back. And, you know, we did kind of, I guess we kind of, you know, touched on it a little bit earlier, but the new cards are not in this week of the VML because they just came out on Arena and everyone did submit their decks on Sunday for the whole week of top 8 play. But nowadays we are looking at the possibility of copying something like an Obnixilis token with Asuka's Chariot, which is terrifying.
That's definitely the word.
Frankly,
I think that's there's no 2 ways about that.
And the MightyLinguine is actually going to let the chariot attack. That is pretty interesting. It does make some sense. Because otherwise there'll be a gap to fire up the layer. Okay, Infernal Grass, go back down to 2. Eat both cats, presumably, and chump block the 7/7. But, you know, and the MightyLinguine has done an admirable job of answering the big threats, right? She's managed to live through a Ren and 7, live through the first Chariot, but this board presence is just absolutely huge for Kansaki.
Right. Thank goodness these tree folk have reach and not trample. That's for sure.
Yeah, that would just be absolutely lethal here. But here is Welcoming Vampire, and MightyLinguine is going to see the bad news potentially in a second of second Asuka's Chariot. That puts so many more cats on the battlefield, and of course, after the Infernal Grasp life loss, Beky, these cats are lethal once again.
Once again, and unfortunately, there is not that Meat Hook Massacre in the deck for the MightyLinguine. As we mentioned, as a last-ditch effort, though, nonetheless, going to activate this Reckoner Bank Buster. Look at a Sternheim Unleashed.
Oh,
but it's
no,
just
that's not going to
enough.
do it. And if she'd drawn that earlier and been able to foretell it, maybe it would have had a chance of putting a bunch of stuff on the battlefield. But Kansaki is going to win game number 1 with Bant Aggro over Orzhov Midrange. So if the MightyLinguine wants to advance and face Mikaela in the finals, she's going to have to reverse sweep and win the next 2 games on the trot. Let's have a look at the sideboard. Spirited Companions coming out. We see Ray of Enfeeblement coming in. Beky, do you like that?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it takes care of all of the, like, really important things, aside from Asuka's Chariot, which is a little unfortunate, but, you know, you're going to get what you can get with the cards that you can bring in from the sideboard. Potentially, we'll see something like this Farewell. I think I would personally bring in the Farewell, so potentially something that we're going to see that second copy of come into the MightyLinguine's deck. And other than that, I like it. But potentially now the MightyLinguine is going to be on the play, potentially not wanting to put in that second copy of Farewell and saying, I'm going to commit to the board just as fast, so I don't want a board wipe to wipe my creatures that I just spent 5 turns committing to the board.
Yeah, absolutely. The Farewell, the 1 copy coming in definitely, you know, seems pretty decent. It was good against stuff like Asuka's Chariot on the battlefield, good against, of course, all of those creatures that were pumped out by this Bant deck in Kansaki's hands. Nicole, if you're the MightyLinguine here, what do you want to see in your opening hand?
I want to see something quick. We could see cards like Bankbuster came out. I want to see card advantage. I want to see wedding announcement. It's funny because I want to see all of those cards, but some lands to go with them. Raise Enfeeblement to actually have an answer. A welcoming vampire to kind of poke in the air a bit. I love this hand. There's a couple of answers. There's a bit of card advantage with the Spirited Companion and threats in Starnheim Unleashed. So this is a pretty well, especially for a mulligan to 6, I'd say this is a strong hand from MightyLinguine's side.
Yeah, and she does find some lands, so plenty of mana. This game will not have the same stuck on 3 troubles as she had previously. Spirit Companion gets down, draws another land. Kansaki's hand is full of goodies as well. Luminarch Aspirant onto double wedding announcement, Guardian of Faith to potentially protect from something like this Path of Peril. Starnheim Unleashed is available for the MightyLinguine, but that is a scary hand from Kansaki.
Very, especially considering like this Path of Peril is a nice little fallback for the MightyLinguine, but a nice fallback that doesn't look very good in the face of something like those wedding announcements, or worse comes to worse, like you mentioned, that Guardian of Faith.
MightyLinguine thinking about just saving some life here. It's nice to hold on to this dog for now. Oh my goodness, 3 wedding announcements for Kansaki. Kansaki is like running a kind of wedding planning business.
Mikaela was too. They're gonna have if we get to the finals, it's gonna be a fight for who's the best wedding planner.
That is a Netflix show that I would watch.
I would watch that too.
I'm here for it.
Quick, Beky, let's pitch it. All right, so the MightyLinguine gets the first Planeswalker of this game, number 2 down. It is the Wandering Emperor coming down and taking care of Luminarch Aspirant. And Kansaki has the answer in hand, though. Skyclave Apparition could be a pretty clean way of just taking this Wandering Emperor off the battlefield, Nicole.
Oh, for sure. But being in the MightyLinguine's shoes, you hate to see your Wandering Emperor go, but it looks like this is the puppy and then going to kill it, because the last thing Kansaki wants to do is give MightyLinguine a 4/4 if MightyLinguine is able to kill that Skyclave Apparition. So instead, eating the blocker and killing the Wandering Emperor with combat damage, so much better there. And this kind of clears the way for Starnheim Unleashed, unless MightyLinguine is thinking about this Path of Peril that costs 6. The cleave cost is 6 to be able to destroy all creatures. Otherwise, the 1 black is just all creatures with mana value 2 or less, which would not take care of that Skyclave Apparition. And we know about the 2 additional wedding announcements in Kansaki's hand. MightyLinguine does not.
It does make a lot of sense, I think, to get these angels out. X equals 2. This is a good time to do it. You would have to essentially wait another 2 turns to do it if you were going to wait. Because of the way that the X cost works. Getting these 4/4s down, they're going to be dominating the battlefield for quite some time. And do these angels have vigilance?
They do.
Yeah, so that's, also sweet against something, against these Wandering Emperor decks.
Just a good against ground creatures as well. I mean, you want to be able to attack and block. You got to be putting the hurt on somewhere. So I love that ability on these creatures for the MightyLinguine, and certainly something that is going to do its best to keep her in this game holding strong, because the longer we sit here, Kansaki is definitely doing a sort of a go wide method that if we want to clear, we would have to clear these angels as well, unfortunately.
Now that she's drawn the second Starnheim, it feels a little bit, Nicole, like it's kind of a spot where she can, maybe just use this Haggro Mauling this turn, put that Starnheim on Fortell again, and just hope to ride these angels to victory.
Yeah, and it looks like she is prioritizing bolting in that land to be able to hold up Hogger Mauling after foretelling that Starnheim Unleashed, like showing the value. Now we do have to remember that Kansaki does have a Cave of the Frost Dragon as well, although it can't really answer all the angels. It would be a 4/5 blocker with the first wedding festivity flipped and another one on the way.
Right. Yeah, so that Cave of the Frost Dragon could be key later on. Though the MightyLinguine, I think, would be reasonably happy maybe to not see any further board development in the main phase here from Kansaki. Guardian of Faith is pretty interesting, and I wonder how that card is going to affect the development of this game in a couple of turns' time, Beky.
Yeah, it's interesting because I feel like you want to be getting aggressive. So we do see that all 4 of these 2/2s are attacking. They're going to go into these, and you could make the decision to phase out those that are being blocked to try and save that damage. Instead, just going to go ahead and let them kind of fall there. We are going to be able to kind of replenish on 2/2s and continue to grow a little bit bigger. And eventually, with this many wedding announcements, some of those 2/2s are going to become as big as these angels.
So 12 plays 12 here in game number 2. Kansaki is a game up, whereas the MightyLinguine still has to win 2 games in order to advance to the finals here. And wow, what a pair of draws from those wedding announcements for Kansaki. Legion Angel plus Welcoming Vampire. So the fight is really in the air now as we move to the latter half of this game, Beky.
Yeah, and Haggro Mauling potentially going to be able to take out something like the Skyclave Apparition here and just give an extra little bit of damage off of the 2/2 spirit that will be made from that Spirited Companion. And that's kind of going to turn the tide a little bit more. I mean, it's still going to be kind of like an even break. And I mean, it's not even going to matter because I think we're going to be seeing this Guardian of Faith to protect this Skyclave Apparition and try to keep that as much as possible. Say, if you're going to keep attacking, I'm going to try and keep as much power in play as possible.
And that is working out for Kansaki. Has a bunch of creatures saved by the Guardian of Faith, but here comes Starnheim Unleashed number 2 that is going to make 2 more angels. What can Kansaki find in the deck? That is, has 2 flyers, would have been able to block, these flying attackers, but second Starnheim Unleashed is looking really good here for the MightyLinguine in game number 2. Nicole, are we moving to a decider here in our second semifinal?
Yeah, it looks like there's nothing Kansaki is going to be able to do here. Too much power. Any one of those 4 power attackers is lethal. A Legion Angel can only cast 1 a Legion Angel into a Welcoming Vampire as well. It doesn't matter. That means there's 2 blockers in the air. Not going to be able to block all 4 of these angels, kill them, get them off the battlefield in time. The only way that Kansaki could possibly win here would be to kill MightyLinguine right now, and it doesn't look like he has the resources to be able to do that either.
So it's gonna try. I mean, gotta represent something. So here is Legion Angel past the turn. I think at least one of these wedding announcements is flipping. Maybe. Yeah. And, the MightyLinguine says, look, I have 4 flyers. You're at 4. I'm going to slam the attack all button. What are you going to do here? And that is it. So we are seeing a deciding game here in our second semifinal. I'm so excited. I can see, it's funny because we can see each other. Like, we can all look at each other's views. And Nicole is like sweating, like beads of perspiration are running down her face.
I need more water.
That's how the black-white decks make me feel too.
This is insane. I think it's the no beat hook massacre that's putting me over the edge.
Oh, that's fair too. That's fair.
Wow, the MightyLinguine just slams that sideboard. Very few changes there between play and draw. Clearly has practiced this matchup, knows what she's up against and what she's doing. So we did see her prevail in that second game thanks to those Starnheim Unleashed. And Nicole, you actually kind of mentioned how important this card could be. What a great call.
Yeah, I feel so smart now, right? Sometimes you just mention a card, you hope, you throw enough at the, something something will stick. So Starnheim Unleashed, though, a really, really good Magic card. And even with knowing, because it's the only foretell card in Mighty Linguini's deck. So when Mighty Linguini foretells something, Kansaki knows exactly what is going on. And he was still like unable to stop it. Just couldn't stop the 4/4 Angels. Mighty Linguini was able to deploy them. They're great on offense as well as defense. And if Kansaki like stumbles and is unable to block them or take care of them with something like a Ren and 7 token, Welcoming Vampire doesn't even really size up to them very well unless you have a Luminarch Aspirant or a couple of wedding festivities that we have seen to go along with them. So really, really powerful card.
Right, at the beginning of that game, it was looking, Kansaki's hand looked terrifying, right? 3 wedding announcements, Skyclave Apparition, all these powerful 3-drops in hand, and got to play a lot of them out as well. But Starnheim Unleashed getting around the Skyclave Apparition, getting around Wandering Emperor, just doing a great job. And look at this opener for the Mighty Linguini on the draw: double Rave Enfeeblement, Wedding Announcement, and Wandering Emperor. Becky, do you like it?
I mean, you better hope that you're not about to run into the face of that cat chariot, because then this Rave Enfeeblement's gonna look a lot worse. But all things considered, it's gotta still, I mean, I would probably still keep it. It is still definitely serviceable, and those wedding announcements are just a good bridge to get into anything.
Kansaki, it looks like on the mulligan here on the play in game number 3. This is the decider. The winner of this will go on to face Mythic Mikaela in the grand finals tonight. And a little bit of fun, just spicy facts for you. The Mighty Linguini and Mythic Mikaela are currently in the same house, like same physical location. Mythic Mikaela just happens to be visiting like this weekend. So if we get to see them fight, it will be hilarious. Like they would just be in different parts of the same house.
What can we do to set up like an in-person cam, like an in-room cam? I hope they're sitting next to each other on the computer. Like
that would be so funny.
Same room. I'd be sitting back to back, trash talking.
If it happens, we will definitely try to bring you video footage of whatever happens.
Somebody else has got to be in that house. One of y'all has to be there. We need some extra.
I saw Tom Lock in chat.
Coverage.
You got to be on top of it.
Somebody.
Spam this takoyaki to root for Kansaki. I love it. We are watching the second semi-final right before the finals of the VML Season 7. This is the deciding game. Players have 1 game apiece. Bant Aggro versus Orzhov Midrange. And oh my goodness, those are chariots. 2 of them.
I mean, 2 of them, and on top of that, I mean, I like this decision.
Oh, I love it,
Caroline. I mean, Rave Enfeeblement doesn't do a good job of clearing out non-black creatures, but does still do -4, -1. So, namely, takes care of that Tangled Florahedron, and if a land isn't drawn, okay, we did draw a land. So, thankfully for Kansaki, still going to be able to get to those Essica's chariots, but is likely just going to spend this turn putting that Starnheim Unleashed of their own into that first hell zone.
Wow, what a clutch Rave Enfeeblement. It would be so different if Essica's chariot had come down this turn versus, now when it is going to come down. And, as for the Mighty Linguini, found a couple of lands, but Wedding Announcement is down. That is going. Wandering Emperor is in hand, so that could at least deal with the first chariot, although only after it gets to attack Beky.
Yeah, and I mean, thankfully for Kansaki, there is a second chariot in hand. So if this first one does get kind of wiped off the face of the earth by this Wandering Emperor, there is a second one as backup.
Mighty Linguini does not seem that concerned right now, though. Just going to get that second wedding announcement down. Nicole, do you like getting these down early?
I kind of love it, honestly. Keeping up that Ray of Enfeeblement, and although we know about the Disdainful Stroke in Kansaki's hand, so Kansaki would have been able to attack safely with that chariot and Disdainful Stroke the Wandering Emperor. So a great play, very insightful from the Mighty Linguini side.
Ray of Enfeeblement gives -4, -1, right?
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
So there's some potential for the Mighty Linguini to like quad block this chariot and use the ray just as a good old-fashioned combat trick.
Oh, I love it. I hope we see it. I couldn't do the math like that. And
I just want people to play limited all the time. That's all I want in my life.
Were you playing Ray of Enfeeblement as a combat trick in that format?
I play all sorts of bad combat tricks.
Fair enough.
There's something really joyous about you
Oh.
know. Oh, okay. All right, so it's gonna be the Starnheim to make just the one angel, but hoping, of course, Kansaki to copy it, and Ray of Enfeeblement can kill that angel. So the MightyLinguine gets to, you know, fizzle that copy effect. Are we gonna see the quad block?
You gotta be debating it, but you do, like, on the off chance that you don't want to even do that and you just want to take the damage, like, you can main phase the Wandering Emperor next round and just, like, a slam dunk this Eska's Chariot. I mean, that would be, like, maybe not what we're likely to see Caroline do here, but it is certainly an option if we don't want to go ahead and throw all of our creatures under the cat bus.
Yeah, I love having the 2 active wedding announcements and leaving as much as I possibly can in play. There's a chance I would just say take 8, you know, and go to 12 and just keep building the board, because MightyLinguine's board is going to look a lot better after next turn.
Yeah, and that is exactly what she does. Takes the 8. One of those wedding announcements is flipping this turn. The other one is going to be flipping the turn after. And even getting frisky here, coming in with 2 of these tokens.
Yeah, attacking with 2 does mean that you'll be able to draw 2 cards off of these 2 wedding announcements. So just going to just kind of make a little bit of a transition to a card advantage engine here.
Oh, and a 3rd wedding announcement in hand. So really these players playing like wedding announcement ping pong with these games, taking it in turns to draw as many of them as possible. Luminarch Aspirant the Find. Beky, what does this do for Kansaki?
It's hard to, like, you can get rid of the Spirited Companion, but that feels kind of bad. You got to get rid of, oh, sorry, I was thinking the other Aspirant. Oh my gosh, a Luminarch Aspirant is going to hopefully be able to make some things bigger to go ahead and get some more damage across, because that's just the name of the game for Kansaki right now. Nothing is seeming like you have to be too worried about the damage that's incoming right back. I mean, we know better than that because we can also see Caroline's hand. But at this point, you've still just got to be like, okay, my opponent's at 12. We're like almost at that breaking point where things are starting to be like a little bit worrisome for my opponent. And I'm just going to try and keep to that as much as possible. But it's hard because we're also playing this balancing game with Kansaki of trying to attack and deal damage, but also hold up this disdainful stroke, but also we're wanting to play this Starnheim Unleashed into the Foretell Zone. So we're kind of like waffling back and forth here.
And I really, yeah, I mean, you know, you don't blame the MightyLinguine at all for firing off this Wandering Emperor here. It is going to get caught by disdainful strokes, so that's not fantastic. But the MightyLinguine did leave back enough creatures to trade with the Chariot as well. So, you know, not the end of the world. Obviously, getting your Wandering Emperor countered, not great. But at least she's able to get this Chariot off the board, and still has some follow-ups of her own, Nicole.
Oh, it certainly does.
Ooh.
And Path of Peril, and one of the more interesting ones, as not even needing to pay the cleave cost, would just be able to clear the entire board here if MightyLinguine chooses to do so, as well as play another wedding announcement. So I think it's up to MightyLinguine whether or not she wants to attack and draw cards off of 2 of the wedding announcements, or if she would just like to make 2 more tokens that would be 3/3s.
I kind of love it. I kind of love attacking.
I kind of think that was one of the best cards she could draw this turn.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. It's very difficult to get me to do something other than draw 2 cards. So I think I would be on the draw 2 cards plan. It looks like the MightyLinguine maybe question mark is gonna agree. And there it is, the 2 tokens coming in. And if you're Kansaki, maybe this is going to set some alarm bells ringing. And something else to note as well, the MightyLinguine knows that Kansaki is stuck on mana. Only 4 lands available right now. So, this plan, you're not expecting your opponent necessarily to fill up the board again with a bunch of creatures.
Right, and I mean, MightyLinguine right after this turn has Amaria's Call. So even if it doesn't get the indestructible creature thing, even if that doesn't matter, being able to make a couple of 4/4s is pretty good on this board, as she also draws a couple of heaters.
Oh my goodness.
Smokes.
Those are some great draws for the MightyLinguine. The Wandering Emperor and Duress. And Duress is going to get one of these 4-drops in Kansaki's hand. Emiria's Call available as well, of course. And that was a very, very nice kind of couple of game actions there for the MightyLinguine. For Kansaki, though, it is a choice, Asuka's Chariot or make a 4/4. And I think we saw Kansaki, favor the line of copying the Angel with Asuka's Chariot, and I wonder if they'll try the same thing again, Beky.
I mean, I kind of have to just, you have to go for the Asuka's Chariot here. Like, making one Angel just, like, isn't really good enough. You kind of wish that you could have played this into the Foretell zone a little bit earlier, and it just hasn't really lined up, mostly due to just stumbling on lands for Kansaki. So I feel like, yeah, this Asuka's Chariot is kind of the best play. And if you're Kansaki, at least there's a little bit of a light at the end of the tunnel, but Kansaki also doesn't know what we know, which is the absolute heat that is in the MightyLinguine's hand.
All right, so let's see what's going on. There's Asuka's Chariot. It's coming down. And we are going back over to the MightyLinguine. Basic planes, the draw for this turn. Gotta be tempting to fire off that Duress right now. And just see what that last card is. And she's gonna see some good news. Get rid of this Starnheim Unleashed. Kansaki's going to be left empty-handed, just a Chariot on the battlefield. The MightyLinguine gets to make a giant token, thanks to this wedding announcement. Oh, Legion Angel, the draw for Kansaki.
Oh, okay.
What a draw.
Not a bad draw. However, Legion Angel seems like it should be able to stand up to a lot of things, but is not going to stand up nearly as well to Amaria's Call that's buffed up by wedding festivities ×3.
Yeah, you make a good point. Those are going to be some beefy angels. They've been hitting the gym.
So I feel like at this point, Kansaki's hand is certainly forced. Legion Angel, a lone card in hand, just going to have to play off the top of his deck, and he's the top of his deck said it's Legion Angel, so this is the route that this game is going to go now.
Yeah, and it's not a terrible draw. I mean, there is some world, right? If you're Kansaki, you don't know what the MightyLinguine, you don't know about Emiria's Call. Obviously, you're facing down all these wedding announcements. That's pretty terrifying, but as things stand on the board, you have a Chariot going, you can maybe copy some tokens, and you've got to be a little bit worried for what's in the MightyLinguine's hand, but hope is definitely not extinguished if you're Kansaki.
I mean, it seems like it's really close if you're Kansaki, but once again, Kansaki doesn't know that there's an Amaria's Call in hand, and this Wandering Emperor that doesn't even need to minus on anything, can minus to make a token that's just going to become huge on the next turn and make another one on the next turn because this is on Kansaki's end step, just to make it worse. Why not more angels? Why not another Amaria's Call? Let's just continue go crazy.
Just, at this stage of the game, these Amiria's Calls are just fantastic draws for the MightyLinguine. Those angels are giant, and, the MightyLinguine is going to just put some counters on, get some of these creatures to be bigger. Maybe that Chariot is still a consideration. This wedding announcement is going to flip, though, and that's going to make that Samurai a 5/5, so that's going to be able to block the Chariot profitably as well. So looks kind of like we have the TheMightyLinguine in a good spot here as we go to the last couple of, as we get into the later stages of this game number 3. Kansaki unfortunately was a little bit stumbling on mana early on in this game. Kind of just had to stick with playing one spell a turn, which is not where you want to be when you're going up against all these, free token generators and planeswalkers and what have you. And there it is, wedding announcement flips and the farewell. You could just name artifacts just for the flex here, Beky.
just for fun, and I mean, we kind of said that, like, farewell, maybe like that's the reason that we were only seeing one come in from the TheMightyLinguine, is because the TheMightyLinguine's plan is to just have a better board presence, and that is certainly the case here. 7/7 angels on the field, and there's going to be 2 more, so 14 more power and toughness going to be coming down on the next turn, very likely, because I can't imagine that we're actually going to see this farewell cast, unless, of course, it is to name artifacts. But I think you would like if your opponent would take 2 of their creatures to crew 1.
Yeah, absolutely. So the TheMightyLinguine has these 7/7 angels, Kansaki at 7 life. So these angels are lethal attackers by themselves. And the TheMightyLinguine, does have to send this. Kansaki can definitely survive this combat step thanks to the Legion angels that are blocking. But it's not a profitable block. Still has to chomp away on the ground as well. And here is second Amiria's call. That has got to do it. And I think we are going to see, there it is. Good games have been extended from Kansaki. And the TheMightyLinguine coming in with the army here, having gone a game down in game number 1, is going to do the reverse sweep and take the second semifinal down 2 games to 1. Wow. Beky, give me your reaction.
I mean, I'm so excited. I know that this is this is kind of everyone's dream, everyone who's a part of this top 8. But I personally, I'm with Nicole. I'm a big fan of the Orzhov decks. I think that they're probably one of the best ones. They're probably the most fun I've had playing Magic in a while. So there is a part of me that is certainly very excited for that. However, I do have big props to Kansaki for kind of bringing this kind of off-meta deck and something that we haven't really seen a lot of, and getting this far and being able to do, like they said, just bring a deck that makes them feel happy to play it. And I hope that even though they didn't get this one, it did still bring them some joy to play that deck, because it was certainly a joy for me to watch.
Nicole, we've been seeing all throughout the tournament, throughout the 10 weeks of season 7, just how creative our players have been and the awesome kind of decks that we've seen coming into each week's feature matches. And Kansaki's deck just, really representative of that creativity and that willingness to play the decks that you love in the VML.
Right. I love, the ability week to week to be able to change your mind as well. Like, Kansaki could have played this deck 4 weeks ago, played it once and said, you know what, not feeling it, and put it down, and then don't worry about it. You're not committed to it until the top 8, of course. Top 8, you commit to your deck throughout the entire top 8. But, we play 10 weeks. You can play 9 different decks in 10 weeks.
Yeah.
And that's really awesome. And and props to the people who actually do. Like, some people mix it up every week. They're, they have their talents. They can play anything from control to aggro. So but it's one of the awesome things about the VML is to see all the different talents across all the different spectrums. So
all right, well, we have come to the culmination of season 7. Let's have a look back at the bracket. Just to remind you of how these players got here, we saw Mythic Mikaela in the first semifinal of the evening, winning against Samantha Murphy with Orzhov over Mardu, and that was earlier on in the evening. We just saw the TheMightyLinguine beat Kansaki, who was on Bant Aggro, having watched Kansaki dispatch 3-time VML winner Arya in the quarterfinals. And the predicted kind of in the same house fight, Beky, is appearing.
And I mean, very, yeah, we're getting to see it. Proof that they're in the same house, the
Matching
duel that is
hoodies?
about to happen. Matching hoodies, too. I mean, it was
This is so good.
meant
Oh
to
my
be.
goodness. It's the fight. And what I can really gather from this picture is that the MightyLinguine is like, wow, this is great. We're friends. We're battling. And Mikaela's got that killer look.
Mikaela looks actually ready to fight.
A nasty left hook. Like,
yeah, for sure.
Professional face breaker. There you go.
Yeah, that is fantastic. Yeah, that it just goes to show, the VML, just a fantastic tournament. We love to see our players engaging in the fun. And hilarious that they've ended up in the same place. And we will have those two get into the finals in just a minute. We are going to go away just for a few minutes just to set up all the feature matches. When we come back, we will have the grand finals for you. Do not go anywhere. We will see you soon. Hello everybody, welcome back to coverage of the VML Season 7 Grand Finale. My name is Haiyue, I'm here with Beky and Nicole, and we are of course sponsored by Good Luck High Five and Wizards of the Coast. Beky, we're here, it's finals time.
We've made it, finals on the horizon, and I mean, if it's on the horizon, then we are at the edge of the world and about to crown a winner.
Where's this metaphor going, Beky?
I don't know.
No one was going to help you. We're just going to let you run.
And then I was going to say claim a winner
I was enjoying
instead of crown a winner. I don't know. I'm so excited. The words are just not here with me.
I love it. We are going to be crowning a winner. We're going to be jumping off the edge of the world, wherever it is. Nicole, give me your reflections on this season so far that have taken us here.
Oh, it's definitely been a wild ride. I have been so impressed. We've actually had a big influx of new players, I feel like. And we have players from all over the world. I know that Kansaki, when we were speaking to him about playing the live, he was like, oh, that's like 3 a.m. my time. I'm like, where are you?
Oh my goodness.
And it's just like, but it's pretty incredible to have being a participant myself, being able to meet, play against, and talk to and test with people of marginalized genders from within the Magic community, but from all over our global community. And it's been an amazing experience. And being able to work with our amazing team here. And I think we're doing a great thing. I think we're, making a big impact. And I cannot wait to crown a Season 7 champion.
Could not agree with you more, Nicole. And I guess before we get into the finals, we can just, talk a tiny bit about what we do here at the VML. Obviously, we're here for people of marginalized genders in the Magic community. We're not just a competitive league. We're also, a wider community. Everybody is welcome to join our Discord. And throughout, the off season, is like as we like to call it, in the summer, we are going to be organizing lots of community events, probably some casual stuff as well as competitive events. We are going to be working on a lot of fun projects for the future as well, both in the digital space, hopefully fingers crossed in the tabletop space, so watch out for news about that. And of course, thank you massively to our sponsors, Wizards of the Coast and Good Luck High Five. And thank you to everybody who's come on this journey so far, everybody who's watching, playing, in the Discord, just generally has supported us, everybody in the team. You all are doing a great job. So let's get down to it. Let's remind ourselves very quickly of the deck list of both of the players. The MightyLinguine with Orzhov Midrange. And Nicole, this is going to be the mirror. Is this your dream matchup for the finals?
It's funny because it's between like a dream and a nightmare. Like there are some mirrors where you're just like, I just don't want to play it. But this is actually, I really do think that this is going to be incredibly interesting. With such stark differences between the lists. Maybe not even these two in particular, but like your standard black, white, mid-range lists. There's no Aggro. We see the Eliases are in the list, but like we said before, MightyLinguine, 75 cards, 2 gold blanks, but 0 Meat Hook Massacre. So, it's interesting cards like that. the absence of or the presence of, like, I can't wait to see how Path of Peril works out in the mirror. I would love to see how a card like Starnheim Unleashed, if MightyLinguine is able to, deploy those again. Again, it's going to come down to how she draws, how many cards she's going to draw off of cards like Wedding Announcement. So these decks are just so dynamic, and they can go in so many different directions that I feel like the mirrors are usually very interesting and very intricate.
Yeah, let's just quickly flip over to Mikaela's deck list. I think, I'm really staring at these two lists, trying to find the differences. I think Caroline, the MightyLinguine has like a copy of Sorin and that Path of Peril that you were talking about, and then Mikaela has the Sorin and the MightyLinguine has the Starnheims. But it's really very close. They're very similar lists. So I don't think we need to necessarily go over them too much. Let's just go to the action, give the people what they want,
give me what I want. No, I want to go.
Wow, Beky, just throwing a spanner in the wrench. Okay, we're gonna
can we also
just remind you of what's going on in the same house that they're actually both currently in Denver, Colorado, which is where MightyLinguine is based for some of her time, and with Mikaela joining, for a bit of a party, a bit of a fight. I don't know. What is a good party without a fight?
I'm just going to say, the more I look at that picture, the more I love it. I think that's a Batman glass on the computer desk there.
There's
I saw
a Pikachu in
the background. And they're wearing socks. So I'm wondering if this is going to turn into like a, kickboxing, or like MMA sort of thing.
I would love that. There needs to be there needs to be an anime fight sequence between these two.
They both kept duresses in their opening hands.
Let's go! Duress v. Duress.
Restoration of Igandra? How did we miss that?
I don't know, but I love this card.
Of them.
Three of them.
Look, there are a lot of white 3-drops. Wow, Duress takes away Duress, and Mikaela being faced with the option of Wedding Announcement and Restoration of Igandra, both great 3-drops, decides to take the opposing Duress. Beky, do you love it?
I love it. I mean, I think that card does so much more if you just get to say you don't get to know what I'm trying to do, and a check for traps to follow it up. The things that we're doing in the main decks here are just, I love it, but I'm also just flabbergasted.
Check for traps, and I think if you get something with Flash, which, by the way, the Wandering Emperor has, you also get to drain for one. That's exciting.
What a good card. I love this card. I was so excited about this, and I really wanted to play 4 of Duress, and then finally was like, you know what? I'm actually going to play just 3 check for traps, because it's just a better Duress, and I think is a better catch-all against the majority of decks in the format right now. So
as a Hullbreaker horror enthusiast, I do not like the check for traps.
That's what I like to hear.
Oh, I don't even know why we're friends, Beky. Let's go back over to the MightyLinguine's turn, and she can get this Restoration of Igandra going. That is not that shabby. You can get a land out of your deck. You can ditch something and reanimate a thing, maybe do a bit of ramping. There's just all sorts of stuff that this card can do, and if it gets to flip and start attacking or blocking, really gums up the board very quickly.
You're guaranteeing that 4th land drop, definitely a big deal when you're looking at a Legion Angel and a Wandering Emperor in hand here. But Wedding Announcement was the draw on the side of Mythic Mikaela, which is a pretty nice pull from the deck for her, who's kind of a bit lower on gas. And part of it was funny that Mikaela took that Duress from the MightyLinguine with only the check for traps to be able to be taken by the Duress, but maybe, valuing that knowledge of what's in Mikaela's hands so highly that she doesn't want MightyLinguine to know what's going on.
There's something that could be said for the amount of times that you keep a hand that is pretty starkly half lands, half spells, and then you're kind of taken aback when all of a sudden you take a look at MightyLinguine's hand and it's 2 lands, 5 spells, and you're oh, these are a lot more choices than I actually thought I was going to have. This is a mid-range mirror. Shouldn't you want more lands happening?
So the MightyLinguine is faced with a choice, as you rightly say, Beky. Could just Wandering Emperor get rid of that 4/4 aspirant now? She is down to 13 already in the early stages of this game number 1 of the grand final. So getting that aspirant off the board is pretty sweet here. And Mythic Mikaela finds a Wandering Emperor of her own.
Whoa. I mean,
That's sweet.
pretty good. Unfortunately, it wouldn't be we get to just use this 1/1 to take care of the Wandering Emperor anyway, and Spirited Companion gonna try to draw us a land. Does drive a hive.
Okay.
So pretty okay.
Yeah, all right, not too shabby. Here's Restoration of a Ganjo, and I've just realized that this card is super sweet with Welcoming Vampire, and now I'm in love. So there's that. And we might get to see Liesa, the Archangel that we were talking about earlier on. Maybe you can see what she can do in this mirror match here, Nicole.
Yes, definitely going to see if MightyLinguine can build up even more card advantage here. Having a backup Wandering Emperor to hopefully at some point maybe take care of that Liesa. We'll see if MightyLinguine will be able to do that. As a Spirited Companion is drawn on her side as well, also enabling her to double spell here.
Yeah, very nice. Spirited Companion. Welcoming Vampire is going to draw another card. So MightyLinguine has plenty of lands to work with. Has a Legion Angel, has a Wandering Emperor, but this Liesa is just dominating this battlefield right now. 5/6 flyer in the air, has lifelink as well, pumped up by that wedding festivities. Oh, and Reckoner Bankbuster is a nice find for Mikaela, Beky.
Yeah, unfortunately, this Liesa, though it seems really nice, is probably just going to be checked by the Wandering Emperor that is in the MightyLinguine's hand. So, as nice as it would be to try to attack with this large angel, we're in kind of an unfortunate situation where you have to be aware of the fact that that Wandering Emperor does exist, likely in the hand of the MightyLinguine, and as a result, we're not going to see Mikaela attack.
Yeah, when you see that 4 mana up, like
yeah, something smells funny.
Yeah, I do not blame Mikaela for not sending the attack here. Has her own Wandering Emperor as well to kind of use at instant speed in the MightyLinguine's turn. Are we gonna see Reckoner Bankbuster come down though?
I mean, it's probably the safest play from the side of Mythic Mikaela, not needing to tap out. Not really interested in removing anything at the moment with the Hoggerballing, maybe waiting for something a little more. Just being able to draw cards, replenish the hand, get her resources up so that she's able to, race the card advantage with MightyLinguine.
Yeah, this game is turning out to be pretty interesting. The MightyLinguine can actually use Wandering Emperor in the end step, -2 make a Samurai, and draw a card off Welcoming Vampire, which is just beautiful.
What a good card.
Vampire, fantastic yet again. Oh, Emiria's Call. What does that do here?
Makes a lot of angels, which if you've been watching our stream tonight has kind of been the name of the game for these black-white decks, be it through Emiria's Call or Starnheim Unleashed. A lot of these games have kind of ended because of these flying attackers.
Could also just get this Luminarch Aspirant down, get the Legion Angel train going. And Nicole, what's your view right now as things stand? Like, who, if we had an advantage bar, who would it be sliding towards?
I'm going to say it's definitely going slightly towards MightyLinguine here. I think quality of cards on the battlefield, even with the flipped Wedding Festivity and the Bankbuster going on Mikaela's side, MightyLinguine is just so wide here, and kind of has most of Mikaela's threats covered in one way or another. So including a 6/5 Legion Angel, which is definitely a formidable flying threat.
Yeah, for sure. That Legion Angel getting the counter from both the Aspirant and the Wandering Emperor means that it can challenge the size of this Liesa in the air. Here's another doggo though for Mikaela. Beky, if you're Mikaela in this spot, like, what are you looking for? What do you want to see?
The Meat Hook Massacre that is in my deck and not in the MightyLinguine's deck. But also, there's so many 2/2s on Mikaela's side of the board that, like, it seems nice, but at least you would be able to get creatures back in the form of those spirited companions as long as that Liesa stays in play. So you are kind of like towing this line if you do draw the Meat Hook Massacre of like, how much is X4? Is it enough to be able to kill some creatures on both sides? And so this was the other kind of name of the game that we've been seeing as a heavy theme across the night is which one of these mid-range decks gets the most card advantage? And that's kind of a tale as old as time in Magic's history is when you're in these mid-range matchups, it does usually come down to who is able to get the most out of the cards that they draw. And so far, that is the MightyLinguine.
So we're going to see the counter from Luminarch Aspirant go on this Legion Angel. And even though the MightyLinguine does not have a wedding festivities, she does have an absolutely massive flyer. This, of course, is going to be met with the Wandering Emperor.
First strike. Or exile.
It's actually just going to be the exile.
That's the safer option, I suppose. I guess, yeah, if the MightyLinguine had another Wandering Emperor, that's the safer one. I'm just greedy. I would have gone for the plus. Which is also why I'm not here, so.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think I would have also been greedy, but you can definitely understand Mikaela wanting to just make sure that she doesn't get blown out because a blowout would be pretty fatal here. She lost that Liesa. Only finds a bright climb pathway. Still can find some more cards off this Bank Buster. But just looking at what MightyLinguine has going on in hand, this Lolth is just going to be devastating when it comes down. Oh. What about second Wandering Emperor, Nicole?
Wandering Emperor is much better against decks that have 1 or 2, 3 like major threats. It's honestly, I really don't think it's as good here when you're like trying to put counters on your 2/2s or like make a 2/2. I mean, look at MightyLinguine's board state. Like she has a million, she's 4/3s, she has flyers, she has a 3/4, she has 2/2, she has anything that the Wandering Emperor could hopefully do. Is kind of covered on, and this goes for both players, honestly, where they both have them in play, and have they impacted the board? Yes, but I don't think that they've been making or breaking this game yet so far. It's kind of just helped keep things at parity. Whereas a card like Lolth coming down now, that's going to start to make blockers and make it worth it if MightyLinguine's creatures die, is going to be a card that could just crack this game wide open.
Lolth certainly very impactful here, Beky. Is this, like, are we seeing kind of this game slip away from Mikaela?
Yeah, I mean, we've just seen like the same 2 cards in Mikaela's hand for a long time, and one of them now being a redundant spell in this Wandering Emperor is just not really where you want to be if you're Mikaela, and the card advantage from this Reckoner Bank Buster just hasn't been enough to keep up with all the things that the MightyLinguine has been able to do. And slowly but surely, I think because of that, like, it's all just falling away. And I think this Vanishing Verse might kind of be that nail in the coffin. It certainly would be if it could get rid of this Liesa, but thankfully for Mythic Mikaela, that is not the case. So in it a little bit, but Vanishing Verse is just going to be a bit of a beating if we take out this Wandering Emperor or potentially the second one that's in hand.
All I want to do is attack with 2/2s and have them block with 2/2s and use the Vanishing Burst to take out the wedding festivities. That's all I want in my life. But it looks like all MightyLinguine wants is to get in with at least the bigger of the Legion Angels, the one that can trade with Liesa. Something that's pretty interesting about Emiria's call, it does say non-angel creatures. So it can give all of the MightyLinguine's small kind of like ground creatures indestructible, but it doesn't actually help these Legion Angels, Nicole.
It does not. And we see it's finally worth it. We'll see Mythic Mikaela Haggro mauling this Legion Angel. But definitely one of the more interesting little things that you forget about sometimes on the mirrors call is that the angels that you're making, they're not indestructible. Everything else, or well, all of, like you said, all of your non-angel creatures are indestructible, but that matters when you already have some angel tokens out on the battlefield, or when you have a Legion angel out there, as MightyLinguine or Mythic Mikaela does.
So, Swamp for Mythic Mikaela. That's not gonna help very much. What about second wedding announcement? It's not nothing, but does it actually help Mikaela do very much here? She doesn't really have a good attack with 2 creatures to get the card draw mode going, and adding creatures to the ground doesn't necessarily feel like it's doing a lot here, Beky.
Yeah, I just like really kind of have to applaud this Liesa, who has single-handedly been like the one thread that is keeping Mythic Mikaela in this game. I think had that Liesa been like any other card, we would not be like, this game I think would be over and Mythic and MightyLinguine would have won. Because like you have to think about it also, like that Lolth that's on the field isn't actually getting any counters when things die because that Liesa is on the battlefield. So that Lolth is not getting any bigger as long as Liesa is in play. This is going to be the most giant Starnheim Unleashed we've ever seen.
Oh my goodness.
And like, once again, Liesa has just been the thing that has kept this kind of at parity. And I think the moment that we see the Starnheim Unleashed come down and a bunch of angels kind of flood the battlefield for the MightyLinguine, it's finally going to be able to turn. But this is just like a board stall that really, like, any other card would not be keeping at bay.
Yeah, so this Liesa is being pretty impactful in the mirror match here, as you predicted, Nicole. Aggro mauling the draw. It's not super helpful. Given that MightyLinguine has a bunch of these chump blockers, like these spiders for Liesas, can't really use this aggro mauling to great effect here. And it does feel like this game is slowly getting out of reach for Mythic Mikaela. Nicole, this is, these mirrors have been a bit of a slog. We did find out that actually these 2 players tested together for the top 8, which is why their lists maybe turn out to be so similar. Yeah, and obviously great to see the friends meeting in the finals, but in terms of like a mindset, like a tenacity, point of view, Nicole, how do you survive? Like, how do you hold on and not give up hope?
Right. I mean, and the thing is, these Orzhov mirrors, like any other game, these can go long. You can see there's could be a lot of board stalls. Like, honestly, you just got to kind of clear your mind, concentrate, keep thinking about the things that you can control, and don't worry about, you drew bad or I don't like my opener. And if you concentrate on the things you can control and just play Magic, don't watch the scoreboard, no scoreboard watching, and just play. Maybe put on some good tunes, and in this case, maybe yell at your competitor across the room or something. Be like, "Hey, nice draw, you lucky son of a gun."
Yeah, that's what Mikaela's saying now. Maybe throw a giant Pikachu in their general direction, something like that. And here they are, Starnheim Unleashed, and Unleashed is the appropriate word, Beky. That's a lot of angels.
I mean, MightyLinguine's board might look a lot smaller now, but that's only because it is now so much bigger than Mythic Mikaela's.
That's so many creatures.
Yeah, this is some very tiny creatures. We're gonna have to squint pretty hard to see, but that's a lot of angel tokens, at least 3 that are 4/4s, 2 with counters on. And Mythic Mikaela does not find the Meathook Massacre, so has one more look at it. Can she find and think it's just Vanishing Verse? And feels like that is too little too late. If somebody better at maths than me can maybe work out if this is lethal.
See, that wouldn't be like too bad, but Liesa also has lifelink. So like adding that extra life too, that's where I clock out.
Okay.
I hit the
math is for blockers, not math is for casters.
Right?
That's fair. Liesa is at 9, so Mikaela at effective 30 life. Caroline has to find 30 damage that wouldn't be blocked here. It's possible, for sure. There's a bunch of flyers in the air. There's, I guess, 3 4/4s, that's 12, 2 5/5s. And then a Legion Angel of indeterminate size because it's so too small to see. Oh, wow, and here's duress.
I mean, at least the upside to having this duress is that it's going to kind of force the issue. It's going to be like, okay, if you have things to do, I'm going to make you do it before we go to attackers, which is actually going to be quite big for the potential of this being a lethal attack.
Yeah, here are those 2 removal spells. This probably keeps Mythic Mikaela alive for another turn, as there are now only 5 flying attackers, and that Liesa is a 9/10, so she's probably, yeah, that's not lethal. I've decided. I figured it out, my friend. I've crunched the numbers, and I can.
I'm just gonna go with I believe you.
Yeah, with a medium amount of confidence, say that it is not lethal at this moment of time.
This Liesa is insane.
It's insane.
It's so
is
good.
there anything, like, what answers does Caroline have to this Liesa?
Hagramaulings of her own. 1 Hagramauling.
Oh my goodness.
If for some reason Mythic Mikaela decides to start attacking, we could Wandering my Emperor minus.
Sure.
But I mean, we've already seen Mikaela avoid doing that for this whole game and get rewarded for it, so I don't see why that would suddenly change. 1 Infernal Grasp.
Okay.
So
there's 2 answers?
I mean,
there's also the Path of Peril,
but
yeah.
Okay.
I also somehow imagine that goes way worse for MightyLinguine.
Yeah, I feel like that's not really the answer she's looking for. Okay, so 2 draws in the deck that can kill this Liesa. Otherwise, she just basically has to flunge a bunch of flyers, which is not necessarily a bad idea. Like, it's possible, right?
It is possible. I mean,
so.
This
She
game
has
is still going.
Amelia's call.
Double Amaria's call too, and now, I mean, I don't know if it would be a profitable attack, but being able to Amaria's call and attack with all your non-angel creatures here, I know Liesa would be able to profitably block something, but I can't imagine all of Mikaela's blocks being good here.
I don't know if I would just attack with non. I think I would just flunge at this point. Like, you can tell because Mikaela's creatures are still regular size and Caroline's creatures are tiny that you have way more stuff. So why not? A bunch of your stuff has vigilance, some of them have menace. I don't know. Is she worried about the? Oh, she's at 12.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's worried about the crackback in particular.
Okay.
Which is reasonable. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, this is well, at least the vigilant things can okay, and it's gonna be no attacks. MightyLinguine waiting for this wedding festivities to flip, waiting for the second Amelia's call, thinking maybe next turn I'm just gonna have enough, just straight up. Not gonna risk something like a crackback, not gonna risk, needing to do the maths. And I think Mikaela does not find Mihawk Massacre, does find a Gandro Seat of the Empire. The easy gets bigger again.
My goodness, what a first match between these
This
two.
is insane.
Oh my goodness. This has been quite a game of Magic.
How many cards has MightyLinguine seen? Can we somebody called the Caroline.
Someone
tell her to hover.
Someone count the cards. I mean, the pile is only getting smaller. There's not one on the battlefield.
I don't remember. Yeah, there's not one on the battlefield, but did we play it on like something else earlier? Despite whether that's true or not. Yeah, we're going in with the Samaria's Call, everything indestructible. hopefully this might be the time that we decide to go for the attack.
Let's see whether it's send time. Oh my goodness.
Gonna get in with the
like
angels
the
here?
hitboxes on those creatures are like tiny now.
I
For
believe
clicking
they're
purposes.
5/5s and 6/6s. There's 2 with counters that are 6/6s. There's 3 5/5s. The Legion Angel, I believe, is a 6/5, and the 2 Welcoming Vampires are 3/4s. So, and they're all vigilance. So,
So don't have to worry about
Okay.
crackback.
Interesting.
All right.
So I have a
Just
judge
other things with
question. If you
vigilance.
I have a
those are
judge
the
question. If you
Okay.
both have
Welcoming Vampires?
liaison, what happens? Does anything die?
Everything
Does
dies.
it-
It is all carnage. Your cards burst into flames.
Everything gets exiled, right? I feel like just everything would just exile
I
instead
think so.
of because it's like because the first line is a trigger and the second line is a replacement, so everything gets exiled.
yeah.
Okay. All right. This is a lot of creatures. All the vigil. Yeah. Come on. Let's go. Let's just everybody.
It's just everybody. It's just a party. Let's
Everyone.
go.
Let's
Everyone's
go. 21
invited.
attackers. Hit the button, Caroline. We did it. We got the full send.
I
Is this
think
enough?
we needed to slowly like click things enough to understand that, oh, I do have enough vigilance creatures that at least if there is a crackback, I can block enough things. I think that's really what we needed Caroline to see.
Another Amaria's call was the
Wow.
draw off of one of those Welcoming Vampires.
Oh
so
my goodness.
we might be able to hit the replay button for next turn as well. Let's see how this goes
Okay.
down.
Hey.
Turn.
I mean, it just.
Commence
Okay,
the
luckily
blocking.
Mikaela's the blocker, so she's gonna do the maths. All of those tokens are going on things. Yeah, get in front of one of the samurais. The bankbuster's probably gonna eat something. Leave those menace spiders alone. And this is still a lot of damage coming in. Mikaela at effective 31.
Crazy.
Wild thing to say at like 10:50 of the game or something.
It looks like
Um,
Mikaela does live. Actually, those are 5, 5. Can't do the math. 5, 10, 15, 20.
I mean,
I
we
believe
need
you,
like a
Nicole.
zoom enhance. Like,
Yeah.
I
I
think
need the like opera
by like
glasses.
1. I think this might be 32, but I can't.
Oh my gosh.
Oh
Yeah,
my
I'm
goodness.
Crazy.
I'm so
Final
glad we
answer,
have
are
an
you
aggro
locking it
player.
in, Nicole?
Yeah, I mean, I
Minus
said
negative
it,
1?
so I'm just gonna say it was
Okay.
minus 2.
Oh.
Oh no, it's way more than that. Oh my
Okay,
gosh.
it was way more than
Minus-
that.
I meant minus
Minus
23.
13. All right, there we go. That was game 1, my friends.
Wow.
Please. I must
What a
And to be
final
fair,
this is
in your
shaping up to
defense,
be.
You're looking at all the creatures and they're these big. So
Very small indeed. All right, so while we're in the sideboarding, I think we're going to say goodbye to Beky, who is. Thank you so much for joining us. Nicole and I will be taking you through to the end of the broadcast today. Don't worry, we've got plenty of magic yet to come in. That game 1 was anything to go by. Beky, thank you so much for joining us.
Of course. Tell the winner congratulations for me. I'll be watching once I get to my destination. Thank you all so much. Have a great night and good luck to both of our final competitors.
Hey, see you
All
in
right,
chat.
see you later, Beky. Okay, so
Wow, what a game 1.
it's honestly like mind-blowing to even think about a sideboard right now.
Right?
What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do, Nicole? Tell us.
You take a look and you take your best shot. Now, we saw Liesa really gum up that battlefield. And each competitor does have 1 copy. So even though it did gum up the battlefield for Mikaela, you don't probably want to skew your deck too badly towards being able to remove it. But I don't think a Soul Shatter would hurt here from either side, as well as maybe a Farewell or 2 if things do get out of hand.
All right, so it's time for game number 2 between Mythic Mikaela and the Mighty Linguine. The Mighty Linguine just needs to win this one to take home the title of, champion of VML Season 7 and go to the set championship. Mythic Mikaela has to do the reverse sweep, but has a great hand to do it with. There's Luminarch Aspirant plus Wedding Announcement plus a bunch of 4-drops, although Nicole, Mighty Linguine has some answers to these threats.
Yeah, Mighty Linguine's hand definitely a bit slower and maybe more reactive with cards like the Vanishing Verse and the Wandering Emperor. More flush with lands as well, but Mythic Mikaela, you can't deny that curve. Going 2-drop Luminarch Aspirant into 3-drop Wedding Announcement is just a great curve. But it looks like Mikaela maybe considering foretelling Starnheim Unleashed here. No, it's got to be Wedding Announcement every
No,
single
got
time.
a
I was
Wedding
like,
Announcement.
she kind of freaked me
You
out.
gotta get it
Freaked me
down.
out there for a second.
Oh, and look at this. The Mighty Linguine did not kill the Luminarch Aspirant on attacks, saved the Vanishing Verse, and used it to snipe that Wedding Announcement before it became too big of a problem. So that one is dealt with. The second Vanishing Verse is available for the Luminarch Aspirant, but now Mythic Mikaela is in, the 4-mana Wandering Emperor zone.
Yes, and it'll be interesting to see how Mighty Linguine plans on answering that. If she's just going to take 4 here. Now, this is a decent amount of damage, taken 3 and then 4 from this Luminarch Aspirant. So already at 13 life. It'll be interesting to see how much she values his Vanishing Verse in hand. Not really being able to put much else onto the battlefield. Has a Wandering Emperor, but 2/2s don't look so good against a Luminarch Aspirant with a bunch of counters on it. Mythic Mikaela, a decision to make here as well.
Wow, decides to put that Starnheim Unleashed in for Tal. So, we talked about how important that card was. Could potentially next turn, X equals 2, just make a couple of angels. And we saw that be very good for the Mighty Linguine in her semifinal against Kansaki. So maybe, Mythic Mikaela hoping to replicate that and just get this game 2 over and done with as soon as possible, save enough time for game number 3. Mighty Linguine faced with the option here. Are you going to just kill this Aspirant now?
Yeah, I kind of like holding on to the Vanishing Verse, seeing that this turn, Mighty Linguine is able to cast Wandering Emperor on her own and being able to get rid of that Luminarch Aspirant, if that is what she chooses to do. Reckoner Bankbuster, the draw here, though. So that kind of makes things interesting as well. Also choosing not to foretell the Starnheim Unleash and leave open a Vanishing Verse, but Duress. Ooh, that's going to force Mighty Linguine's hand here.
Okay. Wow, what a good Duress. That is a great draw for Mikaela. Duress gonna take a look, get rid of one of these problematic cards. It's a difficult choice actually here, I think, if you're Mikaela.
Oh, for sure. I think that Mikaela definitely wants this game over soon, and already having the Starnheim Unleashed in foretell, like saying, you know what, Mighty Linguine might be able to handle one of my angels, but if I can get multiple in the air, I'm going to end this quick. Mighty Linguine already being at 13 life and only being able to make a 2/2 before that Wandering Emperor gets taken care of by Fracture.
Wow, and here we see the kind of consequences down the line of not using that Vanishing Verse earlier. Mighty Linguine down to 8. Finds the second Starnheim Unleashed. So that's a pretty nice draw here for the Mighty Linguine. That can potentially be the answer to the 2 angels. Just need 2 angels of my own.
It's that Thoughtseize bug, I thought I just took your Starnheim Unleashed, but now the Mighty Linguine is being able to foretell a card that has to be Starnheim Unleashed, and that Vanishing Verse finally taking care of that Luminarch Aspirant. Vigilance Samurai able to get in for 2 as well here. And like you said, really good draw. Because if Mikaela chooses to make some angels here, Mighty Linguine can just take her next turn to do the same exact thing.
Very true, Nicole, very true. Mighty Linguine could potentially even wait a turn and make the 3rd angel. Besides, I guess she couldn't because she's at 8, so that ignore everything I just said. But Mythic Mikaela has the Wandering Emperor in hand, so we'll be able to eat one of these on the blocks.
Yes. Wandering Emperor, not so good against vigilance creatures, which is all that's on the battlefield right now. But when you're looking to trade your 4/4 Angel for your opponent's 4/4 Angel, having a Wandering Emperor in your back pocket, pretty good here as we see the 5/5 first striker get across and eat an Angel. And
Oh, a turn too late there for the Wandering Emperor, and as you very rightly pointed out, unable to take out the Vigilant Angel on the other side. So it's time to go digging with Reckoner Bankbuster. What's in the bag? It's a Luminarch Aspirant. That is helpful for the grounds, but really the air is where the battle is now, Nicole.
yeah, it's a great card, but not so great when you're drawing on usually on like turn 8, and when your opponent has you dead in the air in 2 turns, doesn't feel too great as Mikaela draws a Hive of the Eye Tyrant here. So you know, these keywords, you know, the vigilance, the flying, the menace is what is deciding this game number 2.
And Mikaela can put a counter on the 5/5, get him for 6, take MightyLinguine down to 2, and that of course makes the Hive of the Eye Tyrant, as you say, a pretty scary, menacing, lethal threat. Takanama also in hand. Mikaela's actually just going to get him for 5, which also makes sense. May as well make a 2/2 and make a menace threat. Has a Takanuma, can go digging if something happens to this Wandering Emperor. Welcoming Vampire. There's a blocker in the air.
There is being able to pump it up won't actually be able to save it because the Wandering Emperor pump on the Angel in the air next turn would hurt. So
love this attack.
I love it. I love it.
Love it. You know what, Wandering Emperor in hand, like, do you want to trade off or offer the trade with that 5/5 in the air? And Mikaela's gotta be like, no, there's something's up with this.
Right. This is a great attack, a great sequencing by the MightyLinguine here. We see Mikaela thinking about it, considering it. We see the highlighting of the different cards, and is actually going to call the bluff that was not a bluff.
It was not a bluff. Wandering Emperor was in hand, so Mikaela is going to trade off this Angel, and this game suddenly got very interesting indeed with this Angel, you know, going down to that Samurai, and all of a sudden MightyLinguine is on the, you know, just dominating on the battlefield once again.
Like going from being on the back foot to now having, you know, a flying blocker and attacker, so having some security in the air and on the ground from a 5/5 Samurai and the Luminarch Aspirant. Both sides do have a Hive of the Eye Tyrant, but Vanishing Burst is a big help.
Oh my goodness, this game has been insane, just swinging from one side to the other. MightyLinguine down to 3 life. Mikaela had all those Angels, and here's Welcoming Vampire now. That can take care of the first Wandering Emperor, and yeah, why not? That Samurai has Vigilance.
Yeah, and Mikaela has a choice here now. You know, to play the second Wandering Emperor, you double block with the 2 Samurais that she has, but doesn't feel great. So just gonna take it.
No, it does not feel great. I can definitely, see, you know, wanting to wait till the end step, get the Wandering Emperor out, maybe exile this Welcoming Vampire so that it doesn't draw any more cards. The Vanishing Burst, of course, can kill it, but it's still going to get the opportunity to activate. Wow, it's actually going to make the 2/2 instead of killing the Vampire. Aggro mauling the draw for Mikaela.
My goodness.
Oh my goodness.
Now, this is actually lethal with a Hive of the Eye Tyrant activation, being able to get across for the 3. If Mikaela just attacks all, she's able to get in because a double block on the Hive. Oh, wait, sorry. There's a Hive.
There's also a Hive on MightyLinguine side, right?
Ooh, yes.
And also, can she activate and Aggro mauling? She can't, right?
No. She will not.
She's like 1 mana short. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
That would do it. Unfortunately.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so what is the line here?
Oh,
You gotta
This is a
okay.
tough call.
The 5/5 has to get off the board, right? Like you can't beat the 5/5. You have to get the 5/5 off this battlefield, I think.
I think it's a question on how to do it and what resources you're willing to trade to do it. Like a 5/5 can get off the battlefield by trading. The thing is, the welcoming vampire is going to continuously produce
Right.
for Mighty Linguini as well. So it's hard to say. But like you said, we see that Hacker Mauling is going to take care of the 5/5. So kind
I
of clears up
love
the
it.
battlefield a bit here.
I love this attack. Like you lose one of your 2/2s to the land, yes, but you're basically forcing like the trade or a chump with the aspirant.
Yeah.
Both of which are kind of fine for you. Oh, what's the oops about?
Oh, maybe went to without crewing, was hoping to crew the Bank Buster and
Oh my
5 and a Bank
goodness.
Buster. Or
Yeah, I think you're right. I think
could have crewed the Bank Buster with the 5/5 before it died. Sorry, that's probably what it was.
Oh, okay.
So-
Oh my goodness. Okay, so still gets to crew the Bankbuster, but can now only block 2 of these creatures. So Callahan is gonna go to 1. These margins are so close. Does Mikaela have Graveyard Trespasser?
I don't
I
believe
don't think so, right?
there are any Graveyard Trespassers in the deck.
No.
Meathook
She
Massacre,
has-
yes. But Graveyard Trespasser,
yeah.
I don't believe so.
Yeah, she has Meathook Massacre, and that's kind of it.
Yeah, I'll tell you, it turns off check for traps,
Oh
though.
my goodness.
Can't cast that one.
Oh my goodness.
And Infernal Grasp. So, Mighty Linguini is doing
okay.
all the damage here.
Okay, but this Emiria's call is really scary. So the Mighty Linguini just, oh my goodness, getting just able to fire off this Emiria's call. Is this lethal? No, this isn't
not
lethal.
Quite lethal, and Mighty Linguini does need to mind. I guess with the 2/4/4 flyers, like there is a Hive of the
There
Eye
are
Tyrant.
blockers, right?
There are blockers. And the thing is, Mighty Linguini has to be very careful about not dying on a swing back. We know about the Takenuma in Mikaela's hand. If Mikaela is to draw an untapped land next turn, can Takenuma bring back a Wandering Emperor,
Right.
or something, another goodie from
Right.
the graveyard?
Yeah.
So,
oh my goodness, nice
quite
edge stuff.
a decision.
Yeah, for both players. No way of gaining life for the Mighty Linguini right now.
Yeah, just happy to get in for
Yeah.
6, it looks like.
Yeah, this is, yeah, you gotta do it, right? And Mythic Mikaela, if Mythic Mikaela can find Meathook Massacre, then it's all over. Has the
Right.
one creature to do it. That's a Legion Angel.
She has
She
the
can
option to
cast
cast
2 Legion Angels. But Mighty Linguini also has... Oh my goodness, this is too much. this is a lot. Okay, so she can cast 2 Legion Angels, and then if the Mighty Linguini attacks with everybody, has to block with those 2 Legion Angels, right?
I would think so.
That's it. I think that's it because
Angels,
yeah, it has
the Hive of the Eye
MNT7,
Tyrant.
so that's it. Oh my goodness.
That'll do
Mythic
it.
Mikaela is gonna scoop it up, and the Mighty Linguini is going to prevail. And oh my goodness, that was an insane game number 2. Congratulations to the Mighty Linguini for taking that one down in the finals. That game 2 was looking very scary indeed, all the way down to 1 life. Nicole, whew,
I cannot believe
what was
that. It's like all you need is a tip in a chair. You know, you have 1 life. It's not 0. The game is not over.
It's not 0.
She kept playing, and she played to her outs. Your life is a resource, right? I've heard that one before. So
Yep, for sure. Life is a resource.
an
Wow.
incredibly well played match by both sides. Mythic Mikaela, another phenomenal season, and I know she's going to take one of these down. So
For sure. It's only a matter of time before Mythic Mikaela takes one of these out. Like, for sure. But And I agree with you, like great stuff from both players, very well played. And I just think back to that one block with the 5/5 Angel where, you know, she was like, I'm gonna call your bluff, and Caroline just had it in the hand, had that Wandering Emperor, and wow. So, you know, great stuff from both players. Congratulations, though, to the Mighty Linguine. That is her third VML crown, I believe, which is insane. And let's see if we can get her in here for an interview. See whether that's possible.
It's, you know what? We're gonna get her in for an interview, but the first thing I want to know is all I hear about is go blanks, and I didn't see a one.
Oh, that's true.
Trap. I saw a lot of angels. I did not see any go blanks at all. Not a one. So I'm a little upset. I don't know if it was.
When we get her on here, well, that's the first thing we'll ask her. We'll be like, what happened to the go blanks? I mean, you know, so it's funny, like when you submit your deck on the VML, you actually get a chance to name your deck. You can put the archetype, which is like Orzhov Midrange or whatever, but you also get to give it a fun name if you like. And Mikaela's deck was called Take Me to the PT, Please. And Caroline's deck was called Go Blank plus 73.
Is it funny? I feel like maybe that's what I was missing all season, because I just like was playing and I'd be like Orzhov Midrange, deck name Orzhov Midrange. I really needed to put a little more effort into it, I think. So
wow.
Go blank plus 73.
All right, so we'll just try and get Caroline in here. We'll try and see if Mythic Mikaela is in the room as well. You know, before we get them in here, Nicole, what like give me your thoughts, feelings, emotions.
It's so hard to like quantify what you're feeling right now. There are times during that match where I felt like I was getting tongue-tied because I felt like so much was on the line, and I'm not playing for anything. I'm just here. I've got the easy job. I just need to say what's going on. You know, I don't need to do a thing. And it was so hard to just even concentrate on what's happening, because I just know how much is on the line, how like, you know, it's you know, like the cash is cool, and you know, the notoriety obviously of being a VML champion is awesome, but getting that opportunity to go to a set championship is unbelievable. And I think it's such an amazing thing that we get to do. So it was just an incredible experience, and being able to cover that match, which was just so expertly played from both sides, just an incredible experience. So how about you, Haiyue? How are you feeling?
I'm feeling that we probably can't deny Caroline a second token, which is probably the like number one thing that she's gonna ask about. I do see her getting in the booth. Let's bring her on. Caroline, the Mighty Linguine, congratulations. First question, what happened to the go blanks? We didn't see any of it.
I knew that was gonna happen. I knew it. Yeah, I actually maybe didn't bring them in at all, ever. Top 8. So
that's okay. It's all right. Tell us how you feel.
Pretty excited, because I don't know if you guys are watching, but I won that match.
I won life.
Did you enjoy my check for trap straw after the
I
one
did.
Oh my goodness.
Infernal
The Infernal Grasp.
I was like, well, he's not casting either of those.
No, I had plans. I was going to exile my own tap creature, gain some life. It's all good. Go from there.
Yeah, so...
Did everyone know that Mikaela is in my house right now?
Oh, we've seen the picture. The stream has seen the picture. It was fantastic.
On Twitter, it's out there.
it's out there. It's in the
People
universe.
know that Mikaela made me this sweater. Is that known information? Yeah.
Wait, so Mikaela made you a sweater, and then you like savagely beat her in the finals of the VML?
Yeah, it turns out Mikaela's kind of great.
So Caroline, how does it feel to go to the set championship again?
Oh, I'm so excited. This is the last one. I think I wrote that in my answer. Like, this is the last set championship for what we know. And it has some cool opportunities to lead into the return of paper play as well. So I'm pretty excited.
We are very excited for you. It is
now I have to figure out what to
quite the
play.
opportunity. Now,
Oh yeah, we need to tell Wizards that you won. Also, anyway, all those pleasures are yet to come. Do you have any plans to celebrate?
Ice cream. They don't know yet, but we're definitely going for ice cream.
yay!
Yeah.
I love a good victory.
Why am I
ice
on a
cream.
throne of lies?
Extra toppings.
Because of the go blanks.
Yeah. That makes
No
sense.
go blank equals throne of
I
lies.
did-
Deal with it.
Technically, I didn't lie. I said I was going to win it. Also, I just do want to one brag that I have a 100% success rate in VML top 8s. Just
Oh, so you made
wow.
3 top 8s and you've won all 3 that you made?
yes.
That's
Wow, what an achievement. That's
I'm humbled
crazy.
too.
that's actually incredibly impressive. I didn't actually know that. I knew that this was your 3rd championship. So it tied with Arya. Arya did take down 2 of the regular seasons, but also the one shot over the summer.
Two
so.
and an asterisk, just saying.
Oh wow. Oh wow.
Don't worry, I already told Arya.
And what are you gonna get for your token? I feel like we
a
literally can't. Oh
A
my
slot.
goodness.
Obviously.
Okay.
I feel like
Okay,
it
can I
can't be.
just
think
can I
it
just
has
talk
be-
to well, can I just talk to Wizards right now? Just one-on-one. Just
the
right
floor is
here.
yours.
Can you make a card in the next set that makes a slot token? That'd be great. Thanks. Love Caroline. Could you imagine if I made a slot token and the new set in September just was like, I don't know, 1 green, make a 0-3 slot token?
03, 1 green, make an 03 slot token. No other effect.
That'd be good.
They did some.
Oh,
I think you mean
one.
beast token, actually.
What's the
No.
investigate crab one? The
Yeah,
crab.
Hard evidence.
That's a crab,
Yeah.
not a slot.
But I'm just saying, why can't they just do it for a sloth? They did it for a crab, and crabs are
Well,
pretty
slot is currently
unexciting.
not a creature type. Is Probably
Crabs
not.
are not unexciting. What? Get out of here.
I'm not a crab person.
Oh, apparently so. All right. Okay, let's round it out here, Caroline. I'm sure you have lots of celebrating and ice cream to eat. I'm sure you also have lots of commiserating with Mikaela / I don't know what's going on there. Hopefully,
Well,
it's gonna be.
Mikaela's pretty mad at my Tron luck for that second Stormhind Unleashed.
Hi, Mikaela.
She can't hear you, but they're saying
Okay.
about you.
Ask her how she feels.
How do you feel?
A little sad, but I couldn't lose to a better person.
Do you want to get some ice cream?
Aw.
Yes.
Okay, we're gonna get some ice cream.
All right, we will send them off for ice cream, and we will send off this season of the VML. It has been a fantastic season. We've seen insane decks, incredible gameplay, fantastic top 8 live here this evening, and of course, a very worthy champion in the TheMightyLinguine. Congratulations again. And before we head off, all that we have to say is thank you, of course, to our sponsors, Wizards of the Coast and Good Luck High Five. Check them out. Thank you to all of our players, all the 64 competitors who played this season. You've been fantastic. Thank you to everybody in the wider VML community. And of course, if you want to join, hit the Discord link. You can come join us in the VML community. It's open to all people of marginalized genders in Magic. And of course, watch this space because we will have a lot of news coming out over the next couple of months, hopefully about all of our projects that we are getting going in the summer. So thank you to everyone. Phoebe, producer, always done a great job. Nicole, it's been a pleasure. Give me your parting thoughts, Nicole, for season 7.
That was just a phenomenal, cherry on top. I'm so happy for you, TheMightyLinguine, that you've been able to take that down. And everybody, make sure you put !Phoebe in chat. Give Phoebe some love and some follows too.
Yes,
She
please.
is a phenomenal producer.
Phenomenal.
I don't know how we would do this without her. So
We would not do this without her. Also,
we
Phoebe
couldn't.
taught herself
Phoebe
with the
self-taught.
VML. It's incredible. And yeah, well, congrats, Caroline. You've done it again. Thanks everyone for joining us. We will be back with the broadcast, of course, next season, but you don't have to wait until then. There will be off-season stuff. We'll hopefully see you for some of them. Until then, have a great night, have a great weekend, stay safe, and play lots of Magic.
Bye-bye.